I'm hopeful that it'll be paid out. That's it.
Priscilla, do you have comment?
No, I don't have a comment.
Victoria?
From a person who hasn't worked in 40 years, no comment on unused leave.
Tom, not your
She's
turn.
had 40 years of unused leave.
Can I be recognized?
Yes, Victoria.
I move support of the motion. That's all I have.
Okay, yes, and I'm supportive of this as well, of course. All right, can we have a roll call?
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Ms. Altough Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Carucci?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
None of them mentioned it at an executive session. It wasn't a thought on their mind to do this for Kathy. None of these finance.
That's true.
None of them. I had to bring it up.
No, this is for next. Just to be clear, Mr. Carucci's motion that was passed is to have it for next meeting.
Right.
So
Well, to have the number of time, the amount of time and what it would cost.
that's fine. So we're not voting on that today, other than putting it on the agenda and having that information for us next time. So it should be on the agenda for next time. Thank you.
Is that it?
And then with regard to executive session, there was other discussion with regard to personnel matters. No official action took place, and it may end up on a subsequent agenda, but not for this agenda.
All right, so next is the public comment procedure. It's posted by the door, but the procedure in general is that we have two time periods when audience members can participate. It's a 3-minute limit per person. The first comes up here at the top of the meeting where you can speak to any of the agenda items. And then towards the end of the meeting, you can speak to any items, agenda or non-agenda. I do not see any junior council member here. No, unless they're hiding, okay. So we don't have a junior council report, so we'll open it up for public comment. If you'd like to line up at the podium, it makes it go a little quicker if we have people to comment. Louder. Is this on?
It should be. There's a little button pushed towards you on top. Yes, it's on.
I'd like to speak on the accounting and consulting firm. Regarding, my understanding is that this firm is going to come in and take a look at the finances based primarily from the land, for the current budgets, future budgets, and then they're going to look at the budgets again for the future host agreement fees. Am I correct? Okay. So then they're going to basically lay this all out, tell us exactly where we're at financially in the township, with what we need and what we have extra, what we don't have enough, etc. So this has never been done before. And this is something that really needs to be done. This would make, it would be proven by an objective third party. So I think we need to do this for transparency, for clarity, for understanding for the taxpayers on exactly where the numbers fall. So I asked all of council why you wouldn't do it. Does anybody have an answer on why they wouldn't do it?
Well, I'm the one who put it on the agenda. I'm the one that found the organization.
I second.
Put it on the agenda. Tom seconded it. Lynn Hill never did that. She's our.
Had the sand over there.
And none of these ladies ever did. They always say that we don't need the landfill, we don't need the revenue, and it's $2.5 million that we don't need, and under the new agreement, it would be $4.5 million. It's a lot of money just to flush down the toilet. So that's why this was put on the agenda, because let's see if they put their money where their mouth is. In the past budget, in the last budget, they actually budgeted for this, okay? They budgeted money for this. So let's see if they actually will vote for this and prove them to be whatever they are. Maybe they're correct. Maybe it will have no impact on us. I don't know. I'm not a governmental accountant, finance, and financial advisor, and that's why I would seek to hire an expert like this who has experience in doing these things. So hopefully that answers your question, Mrs. Lauer.
And I'm also hopeful to consider, the cost of the paid fire force they're proposing, in the future.
Well, my thing was, looking at the budget, what happens is, once the landfill host agreement was made back in 2000, the spending started. So we never got clarity on no landfill money and landfill money. So I think this is something that taxpayers really need to pay attention to. Very much so, because in past history with this landfill, it was said 30%, 40%, no percent, we could run without it, we could run with it. So let's clear this all up. Let's have some transparency on this landfill cash. Because this cash cow has supported, and it's supported our fire companies, which is a plus.
It is, but I mean, what I'd like to point out is, I think they could talk about, I hope they look into what the tax rates would have to be, to make up for this money. 2000 was 25 years ago. Things have gotten much more expensive.
Well, and like Emmaus, where they up their taxes by what, 25%?
Right, and the residents should know, should be aware of that.
And it saddens me to have to say this, but again, the spending has taken us to this point where we need to know exactly every penny and have transparency on all the spending of every penny.
Well, we have millions of dollars to put a pile of rocks into a barn, so we're gonna need money.
Yeah. No comment.
Okay, do we have?
Priscilla's pile of rocks, Priscilla's pile of
Yes.
rocks. Well, here we go, most ignorant woman in Lower Saucon Township.
Okay, Tom, you can curb the comments.
Yeah.
It's public comment.
Bill, I would like to see some analysis done on how the township can live within its means. 94 or so % of townships do not have a landfill, so I don't think that this is a panacea for us. You have to really look at the long-range effects of the environment and the neighborhoods over there. And if you want to get into hypotheticals, why don't you analyze what would have happened to that mountain had there never been a landfill? It would have become a very upscale neighborhood with lots of $1 million homes.
Shut up.
Gas lines.
You don't think it would?
No,
Don't
what?
pay anything near the property
In the back,
taxes.
quiet.
Sorry.
That's what this would explain.
It's my turn to speak,
All right.
not yours, and not the clowns in the back.
You got the orange card.
We've seen a tremendous increase in expenses over the past few years. Prior to that, when Leslie Kuhn was manager, she kept things run very frugally, and we were banking the landfill revenue, and it was the consensus then that that's what we should do, because we don't want to create dependency on it. There's nothing worse than golden handcuffs. You can't just look at the money, you've got to look at the overall well-being of the entire community. And, to render 500 plus acres useless or near useless is not, there's no value in that either. So, yeah, I'm all for a little bit of analysis, basically, to get us to live within our means so that this landfill doesn't have to be an issue that's tearing our community apart.
It's not tearing our community apart. How come she doesn't have to listen to
Yeah.
the card? And also, there's gonna be natural gas coming out of that landfill, it's not gonna be used.
Tom, this is public comment time, not your
How
comment.
much natural gas
Now she's
do you
back.
think that they're sending
she's
to the
back.
pipeline?
Now
That's
she's
another
back.
pipe dream.
50%. 50%.
Others to make public comment?
There you go, the most ignorant woman in Lower Saucon.
Okay, you can keep those comments to yourself.
Why? I like to share.
Anybody else? It looks like Mark.
Too many people come, nobody gives their opinion. Marcos, landfill land. So, just to give you my first impression of this, you don't have my permission to spend our tax money on this.
What we need is permission.
That's my opinion. Because frankly, what you're doing and what you're asking them to do, Kathy, I think, pretty much does with her report every year as the financial person. So there should already be a good outlook of what comes in, what goes out, and where it goes.
She's leaving, did you hear?
When I see her not in that seat anymore and her car not outside, I'll believe she left. That's also questionable to me too. Anyway, that's my opinion.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else?
Do I get to use this time too?
Sure. Yep,
No.
don't worry. Dave, I'll let you know when you're done.
Thank you. I can't read the clock, it's too far away. All right, Dave Luann, I live in Easton or something, I don't know. Doesn't matter anymore. The bottom line is I'm not here to talk about the having the consultants look at this and do it. I think it's a fantastic idea, should have been done a long time ago. But obviously, there's gonna be a lot of contention about that. What I did want to talk about is where have all the people gone in this administration here? Before I came, when I first came, probably 5 or 6 years ago, it was coming right along, and somebody had just left by the name of Leslie, and then all of a sudden, the next thing I know, there's a new administration here, and then all people started to disappear. And the first one was somebody who I listened to quite interestingly, that's Link Treadwell. So he was a solicitor for 23 years under both administrations, and all of a sudden, under the new democratically controlled Congress, listen to me, council, he's gone, okay? And then he was replaced by Mark Freed. Oh yeah, new guy, we're gonna hire Mark Freed. He's really good. And he lasted until about 3 weeks or something, 2 weeks, and he quit, all right? See the writing on the wall. Well, you may remember that there was a conditional land use hearing on a wireless communication tower, and all of a sudden, the person that was running it, the president of the council here, said she didn't like it, and she told everybody about it under no uncertain conditions. And by the way, this is all documented in the newspapers, which are left-leaning. And the bottom line is, so, out goes Mark. Maybe he saw the writing on the wall. Next fellow that comes in, Steve Gaduzzi. What do we learn about Steve? Well, he's from over here in Hellertown here. The one with all the police that sergeants, the police chiefs are all in jail now. I don't know about the newest one. Mark Hudson then leaves. Best thing we ever had. I forget how many years he was here, for about 6 or so. Fantastic guy. Go on. Yeah, he saw the writing on the wall too. Then there was Jim Young. Wow, I was talking to Jim one day, came in with 13 years, been here a lot of years himself, and that was in the early spring, and by the middle of the summer, he's gone. But before he left, he told me, yeah, I got a target on my back. Then there was Sheldon Hudson. He didn't last long, second hire in 2 months. And then there was Brian Bond, the guy that lived here, or around here. Yeah, I know he works in Warren Township over there. And then there's, gee, I don't know, there's Sheldon Hudson. Well, he didn't do so well either, did he now? Second hire in 2 months. And then, gee, this little gal out here, Rachel, I didn't even find out her last name. She's gone. And then we get Nick Keller. Has anybody heard about Nick Keller? Yeah, he works for the road department. You haven't heard yet? Flash. You gotta know about that. Nick Keller's now gone. Are we gonna hear about that? Well, you just did, and you don't have to wait. Last thing I wanna say, and I'll keep it short, the bottom line, Kathy, is you're spectacular. You're made in the same mold as Mark Hudson. You are a superstar. You will blossom no matter where you are, and if you need to move a little bit here or there, you do. You have it all, okay? And the bottom line is, you're the glue that held the staff and this all administrations together that you ran under, and it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. I will see you in Salisbury Township, it's just down the road, and I'm gonna go over there, and when you're there and you're smiling like you are now, I will be taking pictures so I can remember the Kathy that was here just after Mark Hudson had departed. And I thank you, truly, truly.
Do we have any others who wish to speak?
Lost can't clap. Okay.
Anne Marie Slavic, Lower Saucon Township. Yeah, I want to comment on the Susquehanna Accounting and Consulting Solutions company. I think it's a fantastic idea that we do a report and an audit of our financials going forward, that we get an analysis on this situation of how the landfill is going to affect our financials in the future. Many other municipalities in Pennsylvania have used this firm. If you just look it up, you can find a lot of different reports. It's legit. Accounting for government is a special skill, and you need knowledgeable people to put together a report like this. I did look that up, and I did see that Plainfield Township used them for actually their landfill that's in their property, within their property. So the point is, if I were on council and I was part of this government, I would want to know, I would want to be able to explain to the taxpayers, this is why we closed the landfill, and this is the information that we got from our auditors that we used for accounting. Because you have to be able to explain that. If you're going to give them a huge tax increase and do what you want to do, per the 3 Democrats on the council and all of their followers, if they do what they want to do and close the landfill, then, you know, normally people don't really pay attention until they get a big tax hike, and then they're gonna be knocking at your door. That's how it works. So they're not paying attention now, and they're okay with what you're doing. But when the bill comes, there's gonna be a lot of questions. And then if you have this audit, and you have this report to show them, and explain to them what your logic was, and what you did, and here's why we need a tax increase, then there you have it. Then you have your proof. But it's always good to have proof. The actual Plainfield Township summary, and I'm just gonna read it, that I found online in the report, a decrease in the tonnage starting in 2025 and the closing of the landfill in 2028 will impact the township finances drastically, as fund balances in the host retro fund and municipal trust are gradually depleted. The burden of funding government functions and capital improvements will shift completely onto the township. That's a real live report about a landfill closing in one of the municipalities in Pennsylvania. So that's like a real live situation, not something made up, not something from a bunch of environmentalists who want only one thing. The bottom line is that you need that report, and I think it's a great idea. Show it on paper. If you trust that what you want to do is the right thing, then let them do it and show it on paper. Why you want to do it and what the results are of it. Results are a tough thing for government, regardless of who's in charge. But this is what we all have to face. Thank you.
And the thing is,
Thank you.
all these people
Anybody
use landfills, for their trash, you're the ones complaining about it.
Tom,
And
do we have
they
anybody
are, not only will we lose the benefits of township revenue, but we'll be paying to take it further, and some other municipality will profit from our trash.
It really is, you know, again, it's something that we have to come to an agreement that we need a balance, because it is a pie in the sky concept that we can get rid of all pollution, but really we're making more pollution with other things, but we're just pretending that it's better for the environment when it really isn't. Such as the electric cars. It's great to have a concept and put a
Right,
tagline out there that electric cars are better for
Do
the
we have
environment.
anybody else
Until
that
you
wants to
dump
make
the
comment?
batteries, of the electric cars, and then what do we have? But nobody's considering that.
No,
Thank
wait,
you.
I'm gonna go.
Oh, Winfield, she's going,
Well,
Steve's over here drives a Tesla. He drives the test.
Okay, Tom, not your
Good
turn.
evening, everybody. Cheyenne Ryman. One point, and I wasn't gonna talk tonight, but one point I do wanna make is that if we're spending money on consultants for things that are considered liabilities, which would be $20,000 for the fire company, not that they're a liability, they're a liability in the sense of it's costing us money. And also $42,000 to do a study on the Heller homestead, which is a liability because it cost us money. Why can we not spend money on something that's an asset? So that's just something I wish you would all consider. Spending money on something that's an asset as far as generating income or something that's costing money.
Do you have- Anybody else? All right, seeing none, we're gonna start our regular business items. 5A, we have a resolution, number 32, 2025, to recognize Karen Samuels for her service to Lower Saucon Township. I would like to read this. I didn't get to read it before tonight, so. So the resolution states, whereas Karen Samuels is a graduate of the University of Oxford with an advanced degree in local history, and whereas Karen Samuels' passion for preserving the history of the Lehigh Valley is well known and documented in 5 books. Saucon Valley, Images of America, Lower Saucon Township, Images of America, South Bethlehem, Images of America, Bethlehem Revisited, Postcards of History series, and Legendary Locals of Bethlehem she co-authored. And whereas she was an award-winning columnist for the Bethlehem Press, and whereas Ms. Samuels created History of the Lehigh Valley, a website where she has cataloged the history of all the cities, townships, and boroughs of Northampton and Lehigh counties, and whereas Ms. Samuels actively maintains a Facebook page for the Lower Saucon Historical Society to provide pictures and extensive history of sites in Lower Saucon Township. And whereas Ms. Samuels has been an important member of the Lower Saucon Township Historical Society for 21 years, 2003 to 2024, member of the Historical Committee for 17 years, 2007 to 2024, Lower Saucon Township Historical Society Adopt a Road member for 16 years, 2018 to 2024, and the Township Historian for the last 2 years, 2023 to 2024, announcing her retirement in December 2024. And whereas as a member of the Historical Society, she assisted in preserving the Lutz Franklin Schoolhouse and its history. And whereas her passion for the Saucon Valley area has provided the township's historical committees with valuable information to support preservation efforts, identify areas and time periods of interest, provide historical data for land use consideration, and keeping the history of Lower Saucon Township alive for the next generation. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of Lower Saucon Township, Laura Ray President, Victoria Optoff Cordero Vice President, Jason Benonis, Tom Carochi, and Priscilla De Leon, Council members, wish to recognize and commend Ms. Karen Samuels for her dedication in preserving the history of Lower Saucon Township for the future residents to enjoy. Adopted and enacted the 2nd day of April 2025. And I'll open it up for maybe some comments. Do you want to speak first, or we can all talk too?
Yes, thank you. I wasn't expecting this recognition, and I really appreciate it. And thank you for all your support of the history of Lower Saucon Township. That's
Jason, do you want to make comments? We'll go through one.
Yeah, I mean, I find it, your modesty is remarkable. I mean, you're thanking us for recognizing you, but you're the one that's done all the hard work. So thank you for all your time and effort over the years. As you know, Lower Saucon Township goes back well into the 1700s before we were in the country. And, it included Upper Saucon Township, Hellertown, South Bethlehem was all part of Saucon Township before Northampton County even existed, when it was part of Bucks County. So our roots go back a long way, and I'm appreciative that you researched this and put this out there to educate people as to what our history is. Because if you you don't know history, you're bound to repeat it, so thank you for doing all that work.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes, thank you for your 20-plus years on the historical society. Thanks for your dedication to the township.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Laura.
Priscilla, do you want to make some comments?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Karen, I just want to thank you for all your work and documenting all the historic things in our township. I think that when I think of you, I think of the hard work we did with the schoolhouse. So I know you were very instrumental, and that's something that's very proud to be of. So it was, and also for everybody, she's not going away, because she's still helping the historic committee. So thank you, Karen, for all your contributions.
Thank you, Priscilla.
Victoria, do you have comments?
Yeah, I just want to say I had the pleasure of really getting to know Karen over the last 4 years, I'd say, but really the last 3 years. And just seeing all the wonderful things that you do and the amount of time that you dedicate to this passion, which is really just a dedication to the community. Being able to document all of the historical things that happen in our township, and even your continued efforts on Facebook and in the committee are so important. Sometimes you are the only person that knows this information and knows where to find it. And I can't thank you enough, because I think it's very important that we continue to cherish this, and without all of that hard work from you, I don't know if we would have it. And the time that it takes just to give back to the community is just a testament to what makes our community great, and you're one of those people, so thank you. I appreciate everything that you've done, and thank you for continuing to do the Facebook, and I look forward to continuing to read all of the information that you've gathered.
Thank you so much.
And I would like to recognize you personally as well, because I've known you for many, many years through the Historical Society. I brought a copy of the Lower Saucon book. I have a few of these. I would highly recommend, if you've ever seen these books, in the bookstores, they have Lower Saucon, Hellertown, and Bethlehem. I mean, all our history ties together. I highly recommend getting them. It's not a whole lot of reading, there's lots of pictures, but it's so much fun to look at these. And I remember sitting around like your dining room table when we were sorting through a million pictures trying to figure out what to put in here. It was a great project, and I really enjoyed it, and I love seeing your posts. It's great memories. So I have this to present to you, but first I guess we need to make a motion to formally adopt this resolution, so I will make that motion.
Now, I'll second that.
All right, can I have a roll call?
Ms. Alton Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Carucci?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. Deliano?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, thank you. And we have this beautiful thing for you here.
You want to come over, or?
Take a picture.
It's like a maze, I guess.
That doesn't sound like a soul. Are we sure? Should be like that person. Doesn't sound like a soul. Are we sure it's working? I had to ask her a question, but she would.
That's not many.
That's not, that's true. That's a tough one.
Yeah, that's correct. Make sure it's working. I hope it's working.
We're gonna have to object to some of these motions that pass through. Doesn't sound like they're all. I know she's not there.
All right, so now we're on item 5B. This is discussion and approval of the Robin Court Storm Sewer Replacement Project bid. And
Could you get that gentleman to silence his machine back there, please? I can't hear.
Okay, so this is a project that went out for bid for storm sewer replacement project. Specs were done by Hanover Township, put out to bid, and reviewed by staff.
Hanover Engineering, not Hanover Township. Come on, Lost.
We received 14 bids on the property, so there was a lot of interest. We did scrutinize the low bidder and found, we did write a memo to you showing how that they did not meet the specifications in the bid. We then reviewed that with the solicitor, we reviewed the second bid and found that their bid was in order. So we are recommending, if you are in approval, Steve, I don't know if they should go through and reject the low bid first.
Yeah, what we should be doing at this point is, it would make sense to do one motion at a time. So the lowest bid was through CAM Landworks. And if someone was inclined to make a motion to not accept the lowest bid, as they are not the lowest responsible bidder.
Okay, I'll make the motion to not accept the lowest bid as it is not the lowest responsible bidder.
I'll second that.
Do we want to have discussion on that, or?
I think just for the public's information, we should probably share with them why the lowest bid is being rejected. It's their tax dollars that we're spending here. The reason why it's being proposed to reject the lowest bid is because the lowest bidder did not have the required workers' compensation affidavit, did not have sufficient coverage for liability insurance, did not have a CDL program statement of compliance, and identified itself as a new company with no jobs listed under its name. So that would be the reason why we would be not going with the lowest bidder. We tried, at least I tried to save taxpayer money, but I try to be mindful of how I'm going to spend it. And I think it makes sense to reject the lowest bidder because of those deficiencies.
Yeah, I agree. It could end up being much more costly to the township with all those deficiencies in their bid.
Priscilla, did you want to make any comments on rejecting the low
Yes,
bidder?
I read all the information in the packet, and I agree that we should reject it.
Victoria?
I concur with everything. I appreciate the staff going through that and diligently reviewing everything. So I don't have anything else.
All right, and of course, I believe, you know, this is the right way to go, based on Brian's recommendation.
Hanover Engineering, not Township.
All right, so I will make a motion then to accept,
We have to do roll call.
sorry, let's do roll call
Lost.
of rejection.
Lost.
Mr. Carucci,
Yes, rejected.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Ms. Deleon,
Yes,
Mr. Benonis,
I vote yes to reject.
Ms. Uptown Cordero.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, then I will, based on the recommendations from Hanover Engineering, I would make the recommendation to
Motion.
go with the next higher bidder, which is Gaber Industries, DBA Barker and Barker Paving.
Is it a motion or a recommendation?
I will make the motion to go with them as,
I'll second that.
you should really put the amount in.
okay, the amount is $62,200. I will amend my motion.
And for clarification, you may have misspoken, you may have said highest bidder. I think you meant to say second lowest bid.
Sorry, I'll just.
If you did, I just wanted to be clear that this is the second lowest bid and in the amount of $62,200 from Barker and Barker.
If you can't do it, let Victoria do it. If you can't do it right, let Victoria.
All right, Tom.
It's your taxpayer.
I
It's your
will-
dollars at work.
Rescind my motion and just start over. How's that? Make it easier.
Well, you have to rescind the second now, right? Who's second?
I don't think anybody did.
I think I did.
Yeah, I think she did.
I did.
There we go.
I'll rescind my second.
Okay. I'll
They blame us for the long
accept
meetings.
the
They
second
blame us for
lowest
the long
bidder
meetings.
From Gaber Industries, which DBA Barker and Barker Paving in the amount of $62,200.
I'll second that.
All right, do we have comments? Jason?
Yeah, I would just point out for the public again, although we're going with the second lowest bidder, the lowest bidder who we rejected earlier, I think the amount is 57,000. I can't remember the number, but it's very small. 963. So the difference here is about $5,000, not even $5,000.
And then, my comment would be, council was competently run, we hired this company to repave Saucon roads, and they also did the, what's the other neighborhood, Pleasant, and I thought they did two neighborhoods. Cherrywood. They did both of those neighborhoods, repaving for us, and, we were satisfied.
I think the residents were.
The residents, that's what I meant, the residents were satisfied, and, when there was things like, resident thought maybe the lip in the driveway and the street was too high or not right, they came out and addressed, they were very good with, residents' concerns, taxpayers' concerns. They stopped, working when the buses were going through the neighborhoods, I know. They shut everything down so the kids would be able to walk from the bus stop to their homes. So I think, it's a better company to go with. That's it.
Priscilla, do you have comments?
No, I agree that, with the recommendation from this, engineer.
All right. Victoria?
Yeah, I think, this is the right way to go, just for the public's benefit. Aside from the bid that we rejected, this was the lowest. And so the highest bid could have been $151,410. So that's almost double, or more than double what we're awarding. So there's bids that went all the way up to that amount.
That it?
That's it.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree with who we're selecting as well. I did have a question though, and I don't know, Brian, since you see these things all the time. I noticed in particular the line item specifically for the pipe removal. There was such, it's hard to read the numbers on this paper here that we got tonight, but the range of prices seemed so wide. The lowest was 800, the highest, well, the person we're going with is 16,000. The, most of them came in around 4,000. Like, does that a normal thing that you see, or do you think maybe there was confusion when some of them bid that part out for the pipe removal?
No, on this job, because this is such a small job, they know how many hours it's gonna take, how many employee hours it's gonna take to do it, what the material cost is, and they have to spread that around in our category, so I think it's just a case that it's so small that somebody put a little bit more in one category than another, but in the end, it all works out because it's a pretty small job.
Yeah, well, like I said, we see how the price worked out overall, they're the second lowest there, but it just seemed like such a big range, so I wondered if that's normal, or if maybe there was just confusion over that particular item. All right.
Right, is it fair to say that sometimes companies bid high, hoping to get it because nobody else bids on a project?
That does happen.
Imagine that. Wow. All right, thank you.
If I recall correctly from the previous contracts we've given this company, it's a veteran-owned company.
I didn't hear the last part.
A veteran-owned company. It's owned by a veteran, military veteran.
I didn't know that.
Okay, yeah, I think I remember that from one of the paving projects. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I remember from the paving project.
Okay, can we have a roll call?
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Ms. Altough Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrucci?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, next item is 5C, discussion and possible action on Susquehanna Accounting and Consulting Solutions proposal. Let Jason kick this off since this is his item.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept approve and engage Susquehanna County Consulting Solutions, Inc. pursuant to their March 24, 2025 proposal.
I'll second.
All right, so I had requested this item be placed on the agenda. I was not familiar with Susquehanna County Consulting Solutions, but as one of the residents pointed out, they have done work for other municipalities that have landfills, and I became aware of them through Plainfield Township. If you go to the Plainfield Township website, Plainfield Township had the foresight to engage this consulting company or consulting organization in light of efforts in Plainfield Township to close Grand Central Sanitation, which is the waste management landfill. It's also located in Northampton County. And they did so because they have common sense, and they recognize that when you take away a source of revenue, it has an effect, or potentially has an effect on the balance sheet of the township, the budget of the township, and the taxes of the township. Susquehanna County Consulting Solutions is located in the Harrisburg area. They're in fact located in Harrisburg. What they propose to us is to provide services, which are the following: to review and project the loss of revenue to the township as potential landfill closure based on historical revenues, current contracts and agreements. They'll review and project the impacts of the previously mentioned landfill closure on the township's current and future budgets, including an analysis of future budget shortfalls and the potential impacts on the township's real estate tax rates. They'll also review and project the future impacts of continuing operations under the new host agreement, which has not gone into effect yet, but is contemplated with the Phase 4 expansion that has gone through the township and received all the necessary approvals, and I believe is still pending before DEP. And then they will also provide additional analysis as requested by council or management related to potential landfill closure. The cost of this is only $18,000 to $25,000 plus any out-of-pocket expenses for this. And they have the rates that are here, and their credentials are here, and this is all included in the packet. So, who is Susquehanna Accounting and Consulting Solutions? They are experts in governmental accounting, finance, financial advisory, pension consulting, insurance, employee benefits, and information technology. So we have had Priscilla De Leon, Victoria Optoff-Cordero, and Laura Ray state multiple times, as well as certain people in the audience, Lynn Hill, for example. Lynn Hill, that we don't need to have a landfill. We don't need to have the revenue from the landfill. And I've said countless times, and I've put up slides, and I've talked about this for the past how many years, that the landfill pays a significant portion of our township budget. And that amount is about $2.5 million a year historically, which represents about 35% of our budget. And under the new agreement, which we negotiated, which is the highest agreement by far of any host agreement any municipality has in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the projected revenues under that agreement, based upon the same intake rates of the tonnage, would project out to about $4.5 million a year for a period of about 18 years. And I had projected that that amount was somewhere between $72 and $80 million over that period of time. These ladies have said repeatedly, we don't need the landfill, we don't need the landfill money, we don't need the landfill revenue. Well, let's see. Let's have some experts look at this. Do you trust Susquehanna County and Consulting Solutions, who are experts in this field? They're expert accountants and consultants who have done this work for other municipalities. They're not partisan. They're not even local. They're in Dauphin County. They're in the middle of the state. You know, they're more than happy to spend $20,000 for Jerome Ozog, MPA, EFO, CAE. Jerome Ozog, I remember asking Victoria, she's the one who brought this guy to us. I said, where'd you get him from? Well, I was at PSAT and I just happened to run into him there, and he said he could do a study for us on fire services. And what do we get from Jerry Ozog for $20,000? Okay, this is like, somebody brought this up earlier. I think it was Miss Ryan that brought this up. We're talking about an asset versus an expense. So Mr. Ozog was brought in to talk about an expense to the township, and the expense is fire services. And we met with Mr. Ozog, and I asked him, Mr. Ozog, would you please look into the call numbers that are being given to us, the call volume numbers from the fire services? And he said, I'll look into that. And he didn't give me any data. And I've asked now 3 times, at least 3 times, maybe 4 times or more, for the survey results that he had submitted, that he had obtained from the participants in this. And I still haven't gotten them. And the question is, why haven't I gotten them? And what does he give us? The grand finale of his findings are, I think you should create a fire services committee. Well, isn't that remarkable? Because we had a fire services committee, and Priscilla, Victoria, and Laura are the ones who ended the fire services committee, only to have spent $20,000 of your taxpayer money to say, create a fire services committee to analyze these things. We already had it, okay? So we have that. And then we have Priscilla and her pet barn project, okay? Priscilla, who was on council for 38 years, she wants to resurrect a pile of rocks, like Jesus rising Lazarus from the dead. I mean, we have Easter coming up, right? And turn this pile of rocks that was been winterized for $1,500 to winterize a pile of rocks and turn it back into a barn. Using open space money, which is for open space not to build a barn, and she'll spend $41,000 on the barn that she herself allowed to collapse. We have a picture of her, it's a creepy picture, a picture of her standing in front of this barn when it was somewhat intact, with a sagging roof as I recall, and then the roof went in, and then the walls came
Can
down,
you talk
and everything
about our
else.
proposal that you have?
I'm speaking, ma'am. Don't interrupt me, please. So, the barn comes down, and Priscilla is, the 3 of them are more than happy to spend $41,000, $42,000, whatever the number is, to do a study on building a barn. So we got $20,000 to recreate fire services committee and $41,000 for build a barn, okay? And my suggestion is, let's spend the $18,000 to $25,000. We've already had it in the budget. They had the foresight in their illegal budget, I'll add to that, because their budget's illegal because it had knowingly inaccurate representations in it. And also, it seeks to hold too much of your money in reserves, but it's been budgeted, at least in part. So let's spend the money on something that is meaningful to every single resident and taxpayer of this township. Everybody that lives in this township, that pays taxes in this township, can be affected by the results of this study. What a smart way to spend your money when we can spend it for everybody's benefit. Not for build a barn, not for give rebirth to a fire services committee that already existed. How about we do this? How about we spend $18,000 to $25,000 on Susquehanna County and Consulting Solutions to see whether or not they're telling you the truth? Are they going to be afraid to vote for this? I think they're going to be afraid to vote for this, folks, because they know what the impact is, and they want you to think that there is no impact to this. And this will be damning to them. So let's see if they're willing to do it, okay? Let's see if they're willing to do this. Let's see if Victoria votes for this, right? Remember Victoria has been called out at that podium many times for conflict of interest because of her parents' role in this landfill litigation stuff. Let's see if she votes for this. But let's see if they quash this, and let's see if it make it go away, so that this just goes away, just like the landfill, and your taxes go up. Not immediately, right? Because they have a cushion there. They're sitting on too much money, and by the time that money's used up, then you're going to feel the squeeze of this, right? See, the majority of this council, we have the majority, we think ahead. We look at what the projected issues are going to be for the future, like paying for these police officers that are here, paying for fire equipment, paying to pave roads, paying contractors to pave roads so our public works people can work on other projects, paying staff so that they are compensated adequately, paying them bonuses because they work their asses off, okay? Giving them the bonuses that they deserve, but these people don't do that, right? Let's see what happens. Thank you. Thank you for indulging me.
All right, Tom?
All right. I think this is a good idea. I think we need to know what at least some projections are, what our tax rates would be if the landfill goes away and stops paying us under the host agreement, roughly about 1/3 of our budget, what our tax rates would be. And we need to hire an outside company. Kathy's leaving. When I had my first meeting with Mr. Finnegan, he thought it was a good idea to hire a company. And Lynn Hill isn't capable. She wanted to cut 25% of our police force in this year's budget. I guess we're replacing with paid firefighters. I don't know. It is interesting on this topic that we don't have any, we only have 2 candidates for council willing to speak on it. The others are too cowardly to show up, I guess. Or 3, I'm sorry, 3. We have Mr. What's his name again? Billy? Ozempic, back there. 3 that are willing to show up, and then actually, address the issue. And it is, I mean, it's really the most important financial, issue facing the township, in the next really 5 years. I think the landfill has about 4 or 5 years left, before it gets full. And, yeah, again, I'll reiterate, we'll just be sending our trash to a landfill somewhere else, and paying, another municipality will benefit from a host municipal agreement that pays that money. Jason made an interesting point about Easter, and it tells you how far, you know, and Lynn Hill's crazy comments, but Jesus was crucified in a place called Calvary. Calvary was the town dump of Jerusalem. It was the landfill. He was crucified in a landfill. That tells you how long we've had landfills and how long we've needed landfills. It was the town dump, Calvary, I'm sorry. Hockey on my mind. Calvary. And, yeah, and, you know, this landfill has created a lot of financial stability for the township over the years, since at least 2020. I think the last count I saw was over $40 million. You know, it's one of the reasons we have the police force we do, and we have the public works crew that we do, and the equipment we do, and you know, and a lot of things. This nice building, for example, you know, wouldn't be here. So, you know, I think that having a study to show what will go away, what will stay, what it will cost to maintain services, what the potential tax rate would have to go to make up for this money. You know, that's you know, we don't have a lot of development. I mean, what this study will show, I'm quite certain, is they are clueless if they think 20 townhouses across the street is going to make a dent into what the landfill pays us every year. I was on the Revenue Appeals Board for 6 years in the county, and I'm telling you, even brand new townhouses over there they won't pay for the kids that live in them to go to school, and they won't. You know, the township tax will be minimal, a dent in the bucket, really, a dent. You know, ridiculous. So I don't know why they wouldn't do this. You know, it's, what is it, about $18,000 to $20,000 was the
18 to 25.
right. Cheyenne, what are we up on that Heller Homestead, about 75,000 now, right? With that all in.
72, yeah.
72 all in, and it's still a pile of rocks that it was before we spent 1 penny of that $72,000. These 3 funds spent 1 penny of that $72,000. It's still a pile of rocks. She just has a fence around it. You know, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But they don't want the truth. If there's one thing since they've taken over council, you see no transparency and no truth. They lie. They lock Jason and I out of meetings. They don't provide us with information. We've asked, you know, Steve to give us updates on, for example, who he's talking to about the compost center. He won't even tell us who he's meeting with. So there's no transparency, a lot of lying, a lot of dishonesty. But that's who they are. That's the characters they are. And you know, I'm really disappointed that all the council candidates aren't here tonight to speak on this important agenda item. You know, we have Kathy Pitchell-McGovern and Kurt Balch, who endorsed them last time, as Republicans endorsed them last time for council, and they claim to be fiscally responsible, but yet where are they tonight? Like I said, this is the most important issue facing the township in the next 5 to 10 years. Hopefully, we will at least know what we're getting into. The voters and the residents of the township have the right to know exactly what may be coming if the landfill goes away, and what won't be coming if the landfill doesn't go away. And I would hope we have if they do go ahead with this, which, like I said, I doubt they will. They don't want you to know the truth, it's basically, they don't want you to know the truth. I hope that we would have it before election day, so that voters, when they go to the polls, have all the information they need. I hope this would be something that would be perfect to put on the township website when it comes back, and let voters decide. But they don't want voters to decide, they want to tell you, right? They want to bring Lynn Hill in here and say, oh no, we don't need the landfill. 1/3 of our budget, right? Right, that's what they want to tell you. So they don't want the voters to have all the information. These three don't, and the members who are running don't, or they would be here tonight and standing in support of that. And that's Kathy Pitcher-McGovern, Kurt Balch, Mr. Borman, Mr. Gress, and who's the other guy, whatever. But I would give Cheyenne and Donna and Mr. Ozemic credit for being here and speaking on the issue at least. At least they had the courage and weren't cowards.
The Democrat candidates.
Well, that's why I mentioned the Democratic candidates, Mr. Borman, Mr. Gress, and I don't know who the other guy is. Whatever, yeah, whatever. He's not here, they're not here because they don't want to go on the record before election day. They don't want to stand at that podium. They don't have the courage, the guts, cowards, to stand at that podium and they say, let's have a study. Let's get the facts out there before election. That's all. Walsh?
Okay, Priscilla?
Yes, hi. I would like to say that back in the budget, when we were discussing the budget in the fall, that we kind of discussed a lot of this. We asked our auditors to look into that, and we included extra money in that line item. And I'd like to wait to see what they have to say. And so I would.
Kathy, have they started that yet? Have the auditors started that yet? No. They haven't been asked to start it yet by the majority of council. They haven't been asked to start that, is that correct? They have not been asked to start that by our controller or the majority of council, that's correct, right? Because they don't want this information out before election day. Doesn't matter who does it, that's what they do, they cover up, they're not transparent.
It's not your turn anymore.
I'm talking anyway.
Priscilla's
So
trying to
you're
talk.
saying that there's been no progress on that, even the budget we passed in, when, October, November? And now it is April 2nd, and they haven't even started or been instructed to start that audit, is that correct?
Cover up.
Cover up. They don't want to have any of this information before election day. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to cover for candidates who endorsed them last time.
To do the audit.
Yes, you do.
It's a normal staff thing.
Ask Kathy. Kathy just said they need to be directed to do it. Kathy just
On
said that.
behalf of our auditors, I think it would be inappropriate for them to be reviewing this. I think somebody independent outside of them.
You resign, you can be honest now.
I do have to state that in every financial report, which is posted online, they have a footnote in their report, every one since I've been here, when that landfill closed.
Right, but
We have a decision to make.
right, decision, but they don't talk about what projected tax rates would be.
No,
They don't talk
that's-
about what
that's
projected
not their-
costs would be for police and for fire.
That's not their purview.
Right, and they're still not gonna do that, even though they audit, they're not gonna they make those projections.
I don't think they would be, since they are our auditors, I think that would be inappropriate for them to be doing that sort of review on our.
Right, but this firm
But this firm would be fine.
would be fine, exactly, exactly.
So why wasn't that brought out during our budget discussion? Because we put extra money in that line item.
You're in the majority, why didn't you say something, Priscilla? You're in the majority, you passed the budget, I voted against the budget. You put the budget together, why didn't you vote for it? Why didn't you hire a firm like this? Why didn't you hire a firm like this? No,
Can we
stop
just
it.
have one person
Why don't you hire
go
a
on?
firm? She won't answer a question. Cover up.
Can we just have one person go at a time? I think, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
Mr. Benoist, Ms. Carucci each had their time
yeah,
without interruption.
yeah.
And there's 3 other people that.
So Kathy says it's something that we could go. Jay told me it was something that he thought was a good idea. And it's not, and to reiterate, and to reiterate Kathy's point, the auditor is not the appropriate person to do it. That's also what Kathy
Just
said.
because I'm not there physically doesn't mean I'm not there.
You're not there, you're not here mentally either, but that's
Well,
fine.
you know
That's
what?
fine.
You're a rude jerk.
Smart remarks.
So anyway, I stick by what I just said, and I'm very disappointed at our, at what we discussed in the fall.
Right.
Is happening.
Right.
What do you do about it? You never asked for it to happen.
Right. She's disappointed in a budget she voted for and it passed. We voted against it.
And
She's
the
disappointed in a budget she
and the
voted
acting
for.
manager just told you it's not appropriate for the auditors to do that.
And you
So
won't
you're-
back it.
And you won't back it up. You're a fraud.
Fraud.
I'm done, Laura.
Okay,
Not
Victoria.
enough. Take a nap, Priscilla.
Yeah, thank you. I guess I'll go back to, our budget, when we did discuss our budget last fall, and I know I had a discussion with Kathy about wanting to add this item, and I know Kathy went back and approached our auditors to see what it would cost to add an additional evaluation related to landfill, costs and our budget. I have consistently said that I felt that our budget has been ballooning over the last 4 years. There was a point in time where the township specifically wanted to save the landfill tipping fees so that when the landfill closed, there would be a set of money put aside to assist the township with whatever it may be. But that was the direction of council, and that our audits had historically reflected that. In fact, we paid off debt, and we were spending within our means, as I would call it. And for, the last 4 years, before 2020, even last year, our budget has ballooned to a size that is above and beyond what our general tax base brings in before you add in the landfill revenue. When I had the discussion with Kathy, it was not brought to my attention in November or any other time until tonight that asking the auditors to include that would be some conflict for them, and I don't know if there's been a discussion with the auditors, whether they've identified that this has been a conflict, but just to be clear,
We're talking about projections, we're talking about projections, not audits. Audits are passed. Talking about projections.
And I appreciate this, I don't know if it's Mr. Benoist or who added the backup documents to it, but if you look at the minutes,
What minutes?
I specifically, the minutes that are part of, and this, just for the benefit of the audience, in your board docs, you'll see the backup documents include our budget, which has a line item at the cost of $10,000, in addition to the normal audit, to add $10,000 for this specific item. And I believe that was specifically because the auditors were requested. There was a conversation, what is the cost for this, so that we could budget for it. But also, when we had the discussion, of course, the minutes are here, so I appreciate those. And in the minutes, I specifically said, what I'd also like to request that you ask our auditors to provide an analysis as to why we have spent more of our income as by virtue of property taxes and earned income taxes, and why that number is in the last couple of years been less than what our budget is. And I'd like the auditors to provide us with some recommendations as to how we can get back to a place where our taxpayer income and earned income tax income is matching with our proposed budget. And this is because in long-standing budgets, we are in our audits, in fact, with a proposed, where they referenced that for a period of time, we wanted to take any tipping fees that we've received from the landfill and place them into reserve, so that in the event the landfill closed, we would have a sufficient cushion for our residents so that they would not be experiencing any major tax increases. I think it's appropriate that our audits moving forward give us some direction to move back to that. So in item 402-311, if we could add some extra funding for the auditors to provide that analysis, that would be wonderful. And so at that time, again, my expectation was that our auditors would assist us in looking at our budget, looking at our expenses, and saying, how could we stay with spending within our means? And when I say spending within our means, I mean through our normal revenue that we generate through our property taxes minus our landfill revenue. So that's where I was at. I know that we asked for that, and it came out as a cost of an additional $10,000. I still think that's appropriate, and I would appreciate our auditors doing that. It's not, as far as I'm concerned, I felt that that was, since the majority of council passed that, that was the direction. So I don't know when our auditing actually happens, but it should be included, and there should be a discussion about that. And if it has to come before council as a reaffirmation of that, I think that's appropriate. But as the motion was stated and the proposal that was put together, I don't think, the other issue that I have with it, I don't think that it's inclusive of some of the issues that we have, including the fact that when you're adding an expansion of a landfill, because they want to give this projection of what we're going to get.
Why wouldn't you want that information?
With an expansion, what they don't tell you is what the cost of managing that expansion and the cost of also handling the fact that you're going to lose all of that land for the rest of for eternity, as far as I know. I haven't seen a situation where we've eaten up all of this property and then been able to do something else with it.
Yes, there's golf courses on top of landfills, there's solar panels on top of landfills, and there's natural gas. Plenty of landfills are used.
If I can,
Why don't you ask,
if I can please
why
finish.
don't you amend the, why don't you amend
If I can please
why don't you
finish.
amend the motion and have them include those things then? And look at the,
I would like to finish. I would
look
like
at
to
that.
finish. I think that it's appropriate to move forward with our auditors, and if we find that our auditors tell us that they have some conflict and they can't do what they've done for all of the other years, and they can't help us with an additional, review of things that we requested, then at that time, it would be appropriate to, look at consultants and see what they, can provide us. But that's where I stand with it.
Good.
Why pay double?
Why not?
So-
Even if this is 20 and it's 10 for the accountant, it's 30, it's still less than half of the warrant for the Heller Homestead.
Excuse me. Is Mrs. Garber here?
It's my
On behalf-
turn
on
to
behalf
speak,
of the
and it's
landfill.
not Mrs. Garber's turn to
Since
speak.
the ladies on council have indicated that they're opposed to this, would the landfill be willing to pay for this?
No, it's not,
It's
you're
own
running the
pocket.
meeting here,
With
and
no
we're not
attached to it,
talking to
get this
Mary
analysis
Ann
from
as
council.
part
They're
of the
willing to
meeting.
pay for it.
But they're even afraid to let the landfill pay for this study themselves.
I don't
They're
think
even
they
afraid of
are.
that. They're even afraid of that. They're even afraid, they don't want you to have this information. Voters remember, they don't want you to have this
If you talk
information.
about a conflict, I would hate to have the
Interesting,
landfill
yes.
give the analysis on.
No, it's not like you're gonna pay for this because you're not gonna pay
That
for
would
it.
be
Just
even
simply
worse.
writing a check,
I mean,
that's
that
all.
would be.
No, it's
You're
not,
selecting
it's
the
not
company, it's their
public
money,
comment,
money's not
Mary
subjective.
Ann.
You're selecting the company.
Public comment.
Understand the request. The request will be if the landfill.
And there is no request to
Pay for the third-party independent consultant.
no request.
I don't have the authority to say yes or no on that tonight, but I'll certainly bring it back to my
Well, when they
mind.
deny this motion, I'm gonna make a motion right after that. I'm gonna request that we send a letter to you requesting that you pay for it. We'll see what they vote against that too.
Yeah.
Just so you know that's coming.
They just don't want you, voters, they don't want you to have this information. Remember that. They don't want you to have this
Not
information.
having the landfill do audits with us for
It's not
us.
an audit. It's
It's not an audit, it's a projection. You don't even know what you're voting against.
No,
You don't even know
the
what you're voting
financial
against.
projection, pretty darn interesting, that the host agreement never had any financial analysis presented to anybody. It went into that agreement with no public disclosure, there was no financial analysis shown. So, be quiet. You don't even know what the host agreement is, but.
He's smarter than you.
I'm going to do a roll call, we're doing a roll call.
One item of
Yeah.
clarification.
You are
Yeah, get a
not up to
clarification.
speak.
Go ahead, I recognize it.
Request that the
I recognize
would
it.
reimburse the
Meeting,
township
Tom.
for the cost.
Yeah.
The landfill is not.
You are out of order.
Right, okay.
You are out
Yep,
of order.
yep. Thank you. Thank you, even though she tried to gavel you down, thank you for speaking. She doesn't want
It's
you to hear
not
about it.
public comment.
Real loser.
Of course you
Let's
don't.
do a roll call.
I vote no because I stand by our budget discussion in the fall.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Transparency.
Transparency.
Where's the transparency?
Transparency.
There
There we go, here we go. Transparency.
Another question. Go ahead.
I love that we'll talk for like 30. Yes, you should do it.
Ms. Gray?
No.
I'm gonna make a motion to direct the acting township manager to author a letter to Waste Connections Bethlehem landfill, requesting that they reimburse the township the costs of the proposal that was submitted to us by Susquehanna Accounting and Consulting Solutions, pursuant to the earlier motion that I made.
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Let's talk about that. So it sounded to me like Priscilla, Victoria, and Laura were against this because of the potential cost to the township.
No.
And then we already had $10,000.
You interrupt everybody.
Oh,
May I finish?
yeah, you got it.
Thank you, Dave, I appreciate that. My request would be to have the township acting manager to write a letter to Bethlehem Landfill, also Waste Connections, requesting that they reimburse the township for this. It is an expense that's, an expense to the township. Although I do recognize that the Bethlehem Landfill does pay the township $2.5 million, which $20,000 represents a very, 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 very small amount of that. And I think that we can afford this in light of the amount of money that's at stake here. But since these ladies seem to be unwilling to spend township money when they're willing to spend $20,000 for Jerry Ozog to tell us that we should create a fire services committee that already existed before, and we're gonna spend $41,000 or $72,000, whatever it is, for the Build-A-Barn, but we can't spend 20 grand to figure out what the ramifications of losing $2.5 to $4.5 million of income is. So let's send it to them and see if they will be generous, even more generous than they've already been to the township, and fund this. Now, clearly, they would not be retaining Susquehanna Accounting and Consulting Services. They would simply be reimbursing the township for the township's retention of Susquehanna Accounting and Consulting Services. Because, obviously these fools are going to say that there's some bias in the report, some opinion that has been bought and paid for by the landfill, and that's not the case here. They're just simply reimbursing the township for that cost. Thank you.
Yeah, this will probably show, that it's not about the money at all. They do not want residents and voters to have this information, no matter who pays for it, even if it's free to the township. For people who say they're transparent and honest, it's disgraceful. Disgraceful. This company was found by Jason, not by the landfill. So any of this conflict stuff is a bunch of nonsense. Then they're gonna say there's a conflict, they're paying for it. But why isn't it a conflict then if we're paying for our auditor, $10,000 to our auditor? And they know who approved that. Like Jason and I voted against the budget. They put $10,000 in there for our auditors, specifically for, that's a conflict. The auditors know which way they want us to come down, which way they want to come down. Why isn't that a conflict? If the township's paying the auditor. And first of all, this other thing, these three have no professional experience and they're just clueless. Priscilla's worked for 40 years. They don't understand. An audit and financial projections are two different things. They're two different, almost completely different things. One is talking about, one is basically going in past, looking at historically what has happened, and we kind of have that from our budgets, but we have audits too, and that's good. It's good to have audits. I'm not anti-audit, but financial projections would say, okay, taking the landfill for the next 5 years, and then out if the new agreement comes to fruition, what it would look like, and if that didn't happen, what the township finances would look like. They do these projections. So financial projections are they're gonna be able to project, right? They're gonna be able to get information, gather information of when our police contract expires in a couple of years. What do we have, 2 or 3 more years on that? 2 years left on that police contract?
At the end of next year.
At the end of next year. So our police contract's at the end of next year. That's the end of a 5-year contract that we negotiate. A company like this is gonna be able to, okay, there's gonna have to, you have to project that, in a year and a half, you have to enter into negotiations with your police, for a contract extension. Now, they're not gonna be paid less money, they're gonna be paid more money. How much more is the question? And this is what they can put into their financial projections for the township overall. Well, how much money are you gonna need for something like that? How much, what is your overall budget gonna be? And how much does the landfill really make up of that? And it's not just them, it's gonna be public works too, and all those contracts will come up. Our unionized public works things, and then also, there's studies out there, and there's firms out there that do it, because most responsible townships, and I wouldn't say you three are responsible at all or transparent, but there's a reason there are studies out there on what the cost of a paver is going to be, and what the cost of fire trucks are going to be, and that type of stuff. It's because other townships and municipalities want to know that. And this is what this does. So it's a financial projection, it's not an audit. And what they said, it's actually, it's transparent.
It's gonna answer the age-old question to every taxpayer and resident in this township.
Okay,
What
Donna, it's
the
not
role
time for
of
you
this
to yell
landfill
up
is
here,
in our
Donna.
township.
Stop yelling.
That's exactly
Stop
what it's going to
yelling.
do.
Yep.
I ask you to
Stop
please
yelling.
do this for the taxpayers and the residents of this township. Give us a little clarity on how damn important this landfill is to this
I'm
township.
not done yet.
Okay, you're disrupting the meeting.
Thank you.
She's fine, she's fine, but you're absolutely right, and it even proves that at no cost to themselves, at no cost to township taxpayer and residents, at no cost,
Even if it was,
yeah,
I say do it.
right.
It's
Okay,
going
we're
to
not
set the
having
township
shout
up.
back and
No,
forth
for
with
the
the audience,
future
so knock it
financial
off.
director to
Okay?
walk into a
You're
township that has everything
disrupting the
laid out
public
is going to be
meeting. You're
perfect.
preventing us from conducting our business.
You don't do
Another
business.
warning.
It's a taxpayer's business.
That's right, it's the taxpayer's business, and this goes to prove that even though it would be no cost to township taxpayers, that they just don't want you to have this information. They certainly don't want you to have the information before election day. That's the cover up here. This is how, and they like to say they're transparent. They're frauds and hypocrites. When you look at what they ran on, frauds and hypocrites, and they're not transparent. And it is about transparency. There's no information. It's just information, and they're deadly afraid of you residents out there having this information. They're afraid for their global futures of you having this information.
Okay, Priscilla, do you want to go?
Yeah, I do. I'd like to say that it's very apparent to me tonight with Mr. Carochi and Mr. Minones having a definite conflict of interest in favor of the landfill.
What's the conflict?
Just rigging
Identify the
the land,
conflict.
red carpet.
Identify the conflict.
From a non-attorney that doesn't know what conflict
Or
of
welcome to the
interest
defamation
is.
suit. Identify the
Doesn't even
conflict,
know.
or welcome to
Doesn't
the
even know.
defamation suit.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
have a chance to recant it right now, Priscilla.
We'll attach it.
Welcome to the
Attach you to
defamation
that defamation.
Calmly,
Ask
stop
Victoria about it.
yelling.
suit. Put your homeowners on notice right now,
First
Priscilla.
Amendment right.
No, it's not.
No,
It's actual
no,
malice,
no,
Priscilla.
Amendment
It's called
right.
actual malice, and there's no conflict of interest, so stop lying through your teeth. You don't have the cojones to come into this meeting and sit here. You're hiding at home behind a telephone is what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're afraid of this issue and you won't be here. So now you're gonna sit there behind your telephone at home and defame us and say we have a conflict of interest? Identify it. Identify it. Identify it, Priscilla.
Speaking.
Do it right now, identify it.
Speaking.
No, I'm not going until she identifies the
Okay,
conflict.
we
What
can't
is
hear
it?
her talking, you don't stop
She's
talking.
not talking.
Identify it,
She's
Priscilla.
not talking. She's not talking. She refuses to identify.
What is it, Priscilla? Identify the conflict of interest that I have.
What's he interrupting? He's not.
What is it? Exactly, there is none, is there? You're just a big mouth, shooting your mouth off, and you're ignorant. Welcome to the defamation suit, Priscilla.
She must have fell asleep.
I said I was finished.
Okay, Victoria?
Thanks. I think actually, I appreciate the recommendation that we, you know, as long as they have, no say and they're not the actual contracted party to approach the landfill, what I would say is that I would ask you to maybe amend that motion and say, within our budget, we are asking $10,000, that's what we had, bargained for, to ask for the review that we asked for when we did our budget. And again, I'll read back from the minutes. It says, what I'd like to ask is that you ask our auditors to provide an analysis as to
Financial
why we
projections,
have
not
spent
audit.
more of our income by virtue of property taxes and earned income taxes, why that number is in the last couple of years been less than what our budget is. I'd like the auditors to provide us with some recommendations as to how we can get back to a place where our taxpayer income and earned income tax is matching with our proposed budget. And this is because in long-standing budgets, and in our audits, they reference for a period of time, we want to take any tipping fees that we received from the landfill and place it into reserves. That's what we asked our auditors to do, when we approved our budget. I thought there was a consensus, and I thought that that was the direction necessary in order for our township staff to move forward on that. So I do, you know, if the letter is gonna say, this is what the council approved back in 2024 when we approved our budget, and the cost was gonna be $10,000, and the auditors had already identified that as the cost, yeah, I think that's an appropriate thing to send to the landfill to see if they'd like to give us reimbursement on that. I'm good for that.
Did you read the proposal?
So,
Item number 4 says, we will provide additional analysis.
I already
as requested
discussed
by
on my
council or
prior
management
motion
related
why
to
I
the
did not
potential
agree
landfill
with
closure.
the
So-
scope of work that you have
You
identified
can
in this
request that,
letter.
under this
So,
proposal, you
I
can
am
request
back
that.
to back to our budget where we had proposed what needs to be done.
No, they don't want you to have the
So
information.
if you
They're
want
trying to equate an audit with a financial projection, they're two different things.
$10,000 cost,
And they're.
I think that would be fine.
Kathy, you
that's
said
why-
the auditor doesn't do this specialized?
And Donna, stop yelling out.
Well, hold on a minute, she's gonna answer
Okay,
my
can
question.
you?
I know, she won't
introduce
answer
your
your
boss
question, she's too afraid.
No, Kathy, Kathy as a financial director who's worked with our
there?
money in
Donna,
township.
you are disrupting the township meeting,
Well, just
and
wait
you
a
know
minute.
that isn't what you,
Kathy.
how it goes.
Kathy said we should get a financial projection, we should hire this firm.
Exactly.
And so did our new consultant, Mr. Finnegan. They
And she
both
said the
said,
auditor does not do this.
that's right, they both said the
So
auditor does
what
not
are we
do
talking
this.
about our auditor?
Okay,
Right,
we're not
'cause she doesn't wanna,
bringing
she
back
doesn't
and
wanna.
forth to the audience.
Yeah.
We're making comments.
Stop screaming back and forth.
You're right.
You are disrupting
Transparency.
the meeting and
Transparency.
preventing us from conducting our business.
Your business is covered. Your business is covered.
The firehouse and the Heller Homes, those were not in the
What did you
budget.
Right,
finish on?
that's right.
You wanna make a counter motion that
No,
we
I
can
asked
do
them, I just proposed them, but they already said,
Counter
they're not
motion.
revising their motion, so it's but that's.
You make your own motion, you're allowed to make your own motion.
Well, I can't until we're done with
I
this.
know, but that's what you're gonna, it sounds like you'd be suggesting something slightly different.
Yes.
Well, an audit and financial projections are completely different. Completely different.
But the minutes speak for
And
themselves.
Kathy said it, and.
The minutes speak for themselves, and I don't think the auditor had come back to us to say they couldn't do it, because we would have known back then when we did. when we approved our budget.
But you haven't even told them to start it yet, because you're trying to hide it.
Okay, let's do a roll call.
Loss of revenue.
Mr. Bananas.
Jason? Yes, for our motion.
Yes.
Ms. Cordero.
No.
Mr. Srvcs.
Yes.
Ms. Ray.
Vote no.
Shame on you!
Cover up.
Shame on you!
Covering up for you.
Ms. Deleon.
No.
Shame on you too.
All right, I'm making another motion
So I'll
to
make a
direct the
motion.
township manager to share with the landfill and anybody on behalf of.
I seconded Jason. I seconded Jason.
That's requested.
I second. We have a motion on the floor.
Nobody can hear, nobody
We
can
were-
hear.
we were-
Okay.
we were voting.
You be quiet now. Be quiet. Okay, I'm calling for a recess, it's 8:10. 8:10, we're having a recess. See?
Any financial projections that Saucon Associates contract.
Oh, maybe they did, sorry, I lied to you.
Well, she interrupted me, I started speaking first.
No.
You're more than welcome to stop
So
talking.
get control of the meeting, I was speaking first,
I'll control the meeting.
You can't control the meeting,
You can't control the meeting.
You can't control yourself.
If you could control the meeting, we wouldn't have to have a
You
break.
can find your way from here down there to hand
We would be controlled if we could respect you.
Right, if you could control the meeting, if you could control the meeting, we wouldn't have to take a
See you
break.
there. See you there, you'll be there a long time before me.
I'm ashamed that we have to ask the landfill to do that. I think that's terrible.
Oh, no. I'm not gonna sit here and tell somebody I don't respect.
Keep talking.
I hope, Virginia, that you're gonna tell us where that quote came from.
It's in your, it's in the Board Docs. This agenda item, I don't know if Mr. Jonas or somebody in the staff, they cut. Oh, I know, I can look on the agenda, somebody else did. But in any event, on Board Docs is my quote.
Dave, what's budget? 101-402-311. $40,000 is budgeted for August. So they're calling this an August, this is not an August, this is a financial. Nonetheless, they want to call it August.
He might have resigned, I don't know. Right. I know. He might resign. I know, they don't listen. Even if they did, they would never admit that they understand the difference, because they don't want to. Hey, how are you? Good. I almost stole his girl the other night at the wall. They reopened it, the guy who took it over and put a lot of money into it. Yeah, I mean, sometimes they don't like it, it's just like an acoustic. Yeah. Yeah, that old, like, big ass stuff. So we, there's
we
asbestos.
said.
Everybody. The water goes right underneath. Like, so we were, we told him, more, he was like, we actually did have a because they didn't go inside. And I told him, we got to go inside. You're not gonna enact anything. He wouldn't let us inside. And the problem with that, there are no water, there are no space. There are no rules. How you doing? We just don't have, we won't be able to use the town. You have no control over any of this stuff. Because it's not just like knocking a building down. So you have to put like netting down, make sure like, there's a, it could be like, a lot of money to tear it. But he's a local guy, he's behind this guy, like, he thinks like, what's his name? He owns the other plaza across the street. Jay, who owns the plaza, the guy who owns the plaza with the speedway? Yeah. Colin Harley. He owns the Speedway Plaza, and then he owns that property across the street. And I think that's the next two, there's two houses next to it as well. Yeah. He keeps them in all, first of all, we're not gonna build like that, you know, with that street right there. And even sheets went up to the parking lot. Sheets would have, right? If sheets wanted it, they would have. But I mean, I'd like, I agree, you can knock it down. One of the stuff like a nice sign, like welcome to Township. Just you can widen the Black River, that's a lot of flooding. We have a lot of flooding. And then also, you know, you might be able to, if 378 is a state road, but if PennDOT would come in and make that intersection, you know, the turn lanes, you know, because like real turn lanes, you know, and stuff like that. You know, they able to line things up. I think he inherited. We tried to get an appraisal of it. We got like it's an eyesore, but he won't knock it down, so I think it's too expensive. And so we're trying to buy it. It's over the wall. How do you do that? You know, you have to knock it down. Like, see, even when they put that water shoes there, like they dammed it up a little bit, they put the netting down and all that. That was to knock the old bridge down. And then so they had to do something massive like that to get that building down.
ISI, I guess it was. And that's a big water company, so they had the money to do what they needed to do. All along this time, there were host agreements with agreements with the old company, host agreements with the new company. If you go back into the minutes of June of 2000, I believe that's when this company came in and started the stuff.
My next one was going to be
the first year was done.
That's funny, I haven't that. And
So the spending, as soon as that first dollar hit the bank, then nobody ever did any accountability.
And that's what
All right, are you still there, Priscilla? Time is
I am still here.
8:19, and we'll reconvene the meeting.
All right, I'm gonna make a
I'll make a
motion
motion
to
that
direct the
we,
township manager to share with any entity
our
or individual
budget that
contacts
we
the
had
township's office
proposed
and
in
seeking
twenty
information.
twenty-four to have the auditors
The Susquehanna
for at a
County
cost of
Consulting
$10,000
Solutions,
to give us
recommendations, and so that they can get that information.
I'll second that motion. We have a motion on the floor, second. So
the draft
we have a motion on the floor,
minutes
second.
of November 6th,
No, the chairperson has to recognize someone.
Yeah, and can't tell what any motion was, so.
All right,
Have you recognized?
I'll recognize you. You just did two in a row.
Because I did too.
I make a motion that we, draft a letter to Bethlehem Landfill to request that they pay the cost that we're asking auditors to incur in, doing the review as stated in the, November 6, 2024, minutes. That's my motion.
Okay, I'll second that.
Now,
Do we even know if the auditors can do that work? So we're asking for reimbursement for auditor work that we don't know that they can do. So I would suggest that you amend that motion, and that you amend that motion to contact the auditors to see if what you're proposing
It's my
there.
understanding the auditors were contacted back in 2024. That's how we got the price of $10,000. Because it didn't just drop out of the air. It was a conversation with staff to ask the staff what it would cost. The staff, is my understanding, contacted the auditors, and the auditors gave the cost of $10,000, which is what the price came up.
Auditors, if there's somebody on their staff.
And I'm sure if they can't do it, then it'll come back to
Actually,
us.
Then do it.
They can do it.
Wasted time, you're slow walking it.
Okay.
but you still think, Kathy, the financial projection is the way to go? And that auditors don't really do financial projections?
I would not retain
An auditor to do a
an
financial.
auditor to do a financial plan.
Would not.
Projection, would not.
Hear that, Virginia?
She would not retain an auditor to do a financial projection.
Yes,
From Kathy Gorman.
we heard that 5 times.
The frame of reference that I'm referring to, and Ms. DeLeon should remember this, when we reviewed our budget document and how to proceed with our budget, we didn't ask our auditors to do it. We RFP'd for an independent accounting firm to sit with us, and we went through subcommittee, and we drafted and reconfigured and redid our budget document and made all of our financial policies through that group, which Ms. DeLeon was a member of. And in that aspect is my determination that an auditor would not necessarily be the appropriate entity to review this type of
Kathy, is that-
information you're asking. Now,
Don't interrupt.
you had directed that the audit, I'm certainly not gonna interrupt you when you're stating this, but I did contact our auditor regarding the fire information, or the fire accounting audit that they do. And I also projected a certain amount in there for a review. I was reviewing it more in the sense that I was going to have to RFP for something like this, because my frame of reference, back when we did our budget document, was that we had to go out and get an independent accountant to do it.
And so where did, when we had the $10,000 discussion, and I said, can we have the auditors do that? And you came back with $10,000.
You had directed me to add money into the budget to have our auditors do that type of work. Me knowing that I was probably gonna have to come back to this council to RFP for that service. Now,
Okay.
whether or not our accounting firm now has that capability of doing so, I'll have to ask him, but studies like that typically cost between $10,000 to $15,000, depending on the level that you're asking. Something like, the fire department was $20,000, he came out and reviewed and sat with the fire department, that was his time out of his day. All the information that an accounting firm was going to need to make this a determination is on our website. They don't need to come in and review and incur those types of costs. Everything they need to make a determination is on our website.
I think what the question, and I'm just going back at my direction in November of 2024, it said, I wanted them to make recommendations as to how we can get back to a place where our taxpayer income and earned income tax is matching with our proposed budget. And it sounds like when you had what you were saying in the committee that you should have.
You have requested our auditors to do it, and at that time during the budget deliberation, I earmarked a certain money for somebody to do it, because I didn't know at that time if an auditor was going to be able to do it. I kind of suspected not, but I earmarked something in the financial budget to review a financial analysis that's under the whole reporting process code for DCED. That's why I itemized that specifically in the budget, because that's why we increased it from $30,000 to $40,000.
Well, if you don't think that it's appropriate for, I would have appreciated that information in November so that we could have an analysis about it.
That's her fault that you were ignorant.
Going back to looking at it, if what we're saying is it's appropriate to ask for a company to do that, then fine. I wanna have a company come in and assist us in getting back to a place where we can have our budget match our earned income taxes and other taxes, excluding the revenue from the landfill. That's what I would like. Whether if we do that by RFP, we do that by RFP. So if that's, I'll amend my motion to do that. I had initially asked that we do the letter to the landfill asking that they pay the $10,000 that we've already budgeted. So that's the first part of the motion, but maybe that's premature since what Kathy's saying, what we need is something different than what we had envisioned when we did the budget. So I'm fine with that, but the scope needs to be how we start spending within our means. That's the scope. The scope isn't let's build the Taj Mahal.
Why can't it also have two scopes, and the other scope is the financial projections for the township of cost and also revenue when the township, if the landfill goes away or closes. It can be both. It can be both, but you don't want to open it to the scope, that wide scope. You don't want it to open to that wide scope.
I don't think that that's a bad idea. That's not what I said.
Yes.
I said the scope that we had, that you had was inappropriate. In the sense that it did not include also the value of the property as it sits.
And this is where we disagree. This is where we disagree. I don't think.
We could have a scope about it, but if I can finish, because I was talking, I think in light of what the information that Kathy provided, I think I would like to amend my motion to do an RFP, to have some type of financial company come in and do an analysis with us, going through our budget to say how we can live within our means. Living within our means means staying within our earned income, excluding the tipping fees of the landfill once they close, and how we can prepare for that, because that's the appropriate thing that people have wanted and people have asked for many, many years. I mean, I didn't come up with it back in 2015. That was the whole projection. Was what are we gonna do and how are we gonna plan for it? So that's what the RFP should be. It shouldn't be, let's build a Taj Mahal and see how we're gonna ask another entity to pay for it.
Nobody's talking about the Taj
So,
Mahal.
well, it sounds like it. I mean, that's when I read.
We're talking about a police contract.
That's my motion.
We're talking about a police contract, and I'm commenting on the motion. We're talking about a police contract.
I amended my motion, so
And I'm talking about that. I'm talking about that. I would, if you would expand your reach beyond the audit to also the financial projections mentioned in Susquehanna. There's no reason why we can't do both. And see, you said, oh, I'm offended by your scope. I'm fine with your scope. I'm fine with your scope as long as it's my scope as well. But you don't want the financial projections. That's what you want to hide. You're fine with the audit. You're fine with the audit, but you don't want the financial projections. You don't want to hear how much things are going to cost the township in the future, projected costs, and when matched with projected revenue, and most importantly, you don't want any projection on tax rates. Yeah, that's really what you're hiding from the residents. Projection on tax rates is really what you're trying to hide. Now, we can do your audit. I'm all for an audit. But let's add the projections on tax rates. Let's add, you won't do that.
My request wasn't for an audit.
Yeah.
That's not what my request was.
It's for financial projections.
No, it's not that either.
Then what is it?
It was to give us proposals on how we can spend within our means.
Right.
That's what it was.
And I said, I'm fine with proposals.
It's how we spend within our means.
Right, I'm fine with that. Can we add projections? Can we add? And we should also be looking, how can we spend within our means in the future, which is projections.
Right now, there's a motion,
Projections.
there's no second.
And I'm commenting on the motion. And I'm projection, and so the projections are.
She amended, so I have to amend my second?
Yes.
Why are we doing a consultant on how to spend money instead of how to protect the income we have?
Right, right, exactly. But she won't, you see, she wants to keep it very low to an audit of how we can look at our
Well, then
needs.
look at.
We can,
look at-
again,
look at-
we can do that.
We're not
We're
rambling.
still not
We can do
yelling
that.
back and forth.
We can
Well,
do
then give
that.
us our voice back and let us
Not
talk during
yelling
agenda
back
items.
and forth.
Yeah, we can do that.
We need to be able to talk.
I wanna be able to
No,
talk.
that is not how the meeting goes, and they never have.
When you're
so-
trying to hide.
I'm gonna ask the members of, pardon me, I'm gonna ask the members of the public to not interrupt.
Why, who are you?
Why? Who are you?
And I'm asking them to not interrupt,
Okay,
this
and I've
is
said it
inappropriate.
many times.
That's a statement,
Please
that's what I'm
stop,
asking.
please stop doing it.
You don't run the
I am
meetings.
now advising them,
You cannot
on
run
the
the
record
meetings,
here,
you're not
to
elected.
not
You're not
interrupt
elected.
any further. They're disrupting a public
You're
meeting.
not.
I am telling them it's
I've
inappropriate.
said it
I'm
numerous
telling them that if they
times.
continue to do
You
so,
interrupted them.
it's
You
going
interrupted
to
them.
be inappropriate. She
You
can
don't run
interrupt
the
them.
meetings, you don't run the meetings.
Okay, and I've said numerous times, you are disrupting
Nobody elected him
the
to run
public
anything.
meeting that we are running, trying to conduct our business.
Trying
You
to
are
hide something.
continually disrupting
Trying to hide things
the
from us.
meeting.
Trying to hide,
And-
trying to hide.
What is hiding? We're trying to have a discussion up here, and with you guys yelling, it's
Trying to hide.
disrupting everything. No, it's not raise your hand, you don't get a pass.
This is what I'm
Steve
here.
has the floor.
I've been granted the floor by the chairperson. Again, I advise the public, please stop interrupting.
You're not their attorney, Steve. You're not their attorney.
I-
You're not giving legal advice.
I'd ask you to stop, because there might be possible consequences
Oh.
nobody wants to see.
Whoa.
So again, you're being ignored. Please stop doing yourself, I'm trying to be as politely as possible.
Consequences. There we
And
go.
now you've been advised.
Oh.
Thank you, sir.
Advice.
I get a formal notice.
Thank you, Dean Wormer.
Okay.
Dean Wormer, Dean Wormer from Alabama.
Okay, stop disrupting.
Dean Wormer, you're on double secret
Now, I
probation
think
out
we
there.
might be wrapping up this agenda item and moving on to the next so that we can get our
What are you
business.
talking about? He had a motion too.
Well, we're not getting anywhere because of constant disruption.
Well,
Because you took our voice away.
Your roll call the motion to.
No, I didn't comment on it.
What we have as our motion with the amendment.
I have not had the opportunity.
We haven't commented on the amended motion. Go ahead,
This agenda
comment.
item is stopped commenting, we have your comments.
No, we don't.
No, you don't.
Not on the amended
You
motion.
don't have my comments, so don't be so presumptive and ignorant.
Yes.
Well, Kathy,
You're on double secret probation according to Dean Wormer.
I think you said earlier that the information that we needed to do financial projections that was proposed in the Susquehanna Consulting proposal. Those are readily available on the township website.
I would imagine all they would have to do is review the financial reports that are on the website and the host agreements that have been posted on the website.
Okay, so all those are readily available. There's nothing else that anybody, so hypothetically, if the landfill, for example, or somebody else wanted to retain Susquehanna Consulting or any other entity to do financial projections for the township at their own expense, would they have to get any information from you or whoever's going to be the acting manager, or is all that information readily available on the township website?
I would think you would be able to do what you're asked to do. You could go to multiple sources, which would be our website, municipal statistics through DCED, and, probably the US Census. Those would be the areas where I would focus. And maybe the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, future planning, whatever, their future planning documents.
Okay.
But those would be the areas where I would typically go if I wanted to get data.
Data that will be needed
That
for
would be
what's
needed
being
for
proposed
something
by Susquehanna Consulting.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
Okay. And just to be clear again, it's your position that this is not something for an auditor to do, this is something for a third-party consultant to do financial projections, correct?
That would be my position.
There you
And we budgeted, if I understand correctly, in budget line item 01-402-311 auditing services for 2025 final, the amount that's budgeted is $40,000, correct?
Correct. 30,000 was for our audit, and 10,000 was for an additional study to do for the landfill, as Ms. Cordero
Right.
relayed.
And to be clear, that budget item could be exceeded, it's simply a budget, correct?
Correct.
And the budget could actually be amended to put more money in that line if it was needed, correct?
We've done that historically, and I'll be bringing resolutions back to you at the next meeting.
So we can have a resolution at the next meeting to increase the budgeting, line item to include this whole proposal.
If council was so inclined.
Well,
Amazing how that works.
yeah.
But if council's not inclined, then the public will never know this.
Our budget, we exceed our budget, on certain items, and we don't exceed, spend less on certain items all the time. The budget's just a plan. Right. So when Ms. Optoff claims, oh, yeah, this $10,000 limit.
It's a planning.
It's a plan, right, it's not, right. She likes to misrepresent
Many
things.
times council.
Right, she likes to misrepresent.
That are outside
Right,
the scope of what was
Right.
approved at budget.
Right, and what you might not have been able to hear, because she was speaking over me, is I'm fine with an audit, but the audit, that we also need financial projections, so I want more than just an audit. And that's where she won't cater, she won't say that she'll agree to the financial projections, because she doesn't want you to know about any projected tax rates or any spending levels, and she doesn't want these officers to know we're gonna have no money to pay them in 5 to 10 years, that type of stuff. Those are the things that financial projections would provide. And I'm all fine with an audit, Steve, and I'm sure Jason's fine with an audit. But we also want the financial projections, and that's where she won't do it. She won't do it because she knows she's a fraud on this. She knows she's a fraud on this, and she does not want residents to have this information. Transparency, as Thomas said, and you said back there. And feel free to speak whenever you want. No one elected Susie.
No, Tom.
No one elected Susie to do anything.
Don't
We
need
all know who runs these
disruption.
meetings.
Can we get a wellness check on Priscilla? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
She's been
haven't
very
heard her for
quiet.
a while.
Wellness check?
Priscilla?
Priscilla, you still there?
Still there?
I think we lost her. So we won't have enough votes for you.
Can I ask for the?
I am still here watching that.
She just woke up.
I did not.
Can I ask for the motion to be brought to a vote?
And I asked to repeat the motion because there's so much jibber jab. And then I it's really, me get lost here.
There's a motion to draft an RFP, and direct an RFP to have an outside accounting firm to conduct a review of our finances, to live within our means outside of the host municipal agreement.
Such a waste of money. That's not a good idea.
And this was a motion by,
Why is it wrong?
It was by me, Priscilla. It was a motion by me.
No.
Why does it matter?
Laura, was it seconded?
It was a motion by Victoria, and then
I thought you seconded it.
I did second, after you made your amendment to create an RFP.
This is,
For what? Do you remember?
information,
And
you're bringing it back from the public.
What the RFP is?
Stop your smart remarks. Okay.
So I'd like to call it to a vote.
Short. Remarks.
Okay, let's have a roll call.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Mr. Carucci?
No.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Benoit?
No.
Motion passes 4-2.
Wasted money.
Yeah. More hiding up.
Wasted money and hiding the true information.
No transparency. There'll be no projected tax rates in that. You watch, there'll be no projected
Turn
tax
to
rates.
the next agenda item.
None whatsoever.
Shame on you.
She's cover-up. She's a cover-up fraud.
Authorization of support letter for Wildlands Conservancy grant application for the Black River Road Restoration Project. Council will consider Wildland Conservancy's request of a support letter for their grant application for the Black River Road, Black River Restoration Project as described in the letters provided. I will make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All right, do we have discussion? Jason?
I have no comments.
Okay, I say no, he's leaving. Priscilla?
Yes, I think this is great. I'm glad we can support it, so I'm all in favor of it.
Victoria?
I think it's a good idea.
We
myself as well. I know they've been working on some of these, dam removals in the last few years, so it's a good thing to do to help with flooding problems and water quality, so I'm glad to see it as well. Can we have a roll call?
Mr. Carochi left the meeting, Ms. Wright,
Yes.
Ms. Delion,
Yes.
Mr. Benonis,
Yes.
Ms. Altough Cordero.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0, Mr. Carochi absent.
Okay. Next item is 5E, discussion and approval of the recreation fee for the Sheets stores. The township received the recreation fee related to the Sheets convenience store in the amount of $6,620. And the Parks and Recreation Board make their recommendation to allot this to go towards the Polk Valley Park. And I would like to make the motion to approve putting these recreation fees paid by Sheets in the amount of $6,620 to be dedicated to Polk Valley Park.
I'll second that.
All right. Jason, do you have comments?
Yeah, I'm questioning why this recommendation was made to take this money from a business that's going to be here on 378 and to allocate this money to a park that's going to be located on the opposite side of the township. The residents on this side of the township, the west side of the township, are going to be most affected by this. So why isn't this money being allocated to Town Hall Park or some other recreational facility that's in closer proximity?
That I'm not aware of. I did explain to them that, or I did explain to Park and Rec previously that typically the fees are allocated towards either a park in the general location, or if not, to a regional park that services the majority of residents in Lower Saucon, which the biggest park we have at the time was Oak Valley. So that's the difference between a local park and a regional park. That was their choices.
What's this park considered, Town Hall?
That's more of a local park. So they could have allocated it to Town Hall Park.
Does the recommendation reflect that there are no needs at Town Hall Park of any kind?
Well, we did just improve the 2 tot lots, so probably that, I would think, is their rationale. Also on their projection or the capital plan wish list that previous Park and Rec members made, there were items on that list, such as the concession stand and things of that nature, that they considered a high priority that they wanted to get done sooner than later.
So I understand we did the tot lots, but I mean, are there other needs at Town Hall Park? I mean, literally, Town Hall Park is across the street from where the Sheets is going in. I mean, if you were to walk through this field across the street, you walk through the township parking lot, you're in the Town Hall Park. You couldn't get much closer in proximity, at least in a straight line.
We do have a grant outstanding that would cover for fencing. That's one of the items that.
Does that cover all the fencing or just part of it?
Part of it. Or no, that would only be, yeah, that would be part of it. All the fencing is over 200,000.
What's the grant gonna be?
I think we applied for the full amount.
But we're not gonna get the full amount, are we?
No, but I applied for 2 different sources of funding, like we did with East Monroe Public, so.
Okay.
That being said, the other item I believe on their list of improvements would have been the stage area that we took down.
I mean, here's what's gonna be lost, folks, okay? When Kathy's gone, I can't ask these questions because whoever's gonna be serving as the next township manager, no offense to Jay Finnegan, he just doesn't know these things. You know, I can ask this question to Kathy, instant recall. This is what you're losing. This is what you're losing. All right, thank you.
All right, Priscilla, do you have comment?
No, I don't. Did you for that?
She said your name.
Yeah. Do you have comments on this item, the Park and Rec fee?
No, I don't have any issues with that.
Okay. Victoria?
I don't have any issue. We just did get the results back from the survey from the residents also, and I did notice there were a lot of requests for things at Polk Valley, so I don't have a problem with this.
Yes, and, you know, I will reiterate, it's always been that you could either pick the park that's closest to where the development is, or the regional or district park as it's listed here, would be Polk Valley, sorry. And I do know that with a number of comments that came back, there are a lot of things that are suggested for Polk Valley, because it's like one of our most heavily used parks with the most variety of things, so I think it'll be well used over there. Can we have a roll call?
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
No, the money should go to Town Hall Park. These people are being affected on Old Philadelphia Pike by the development. At least give them some recreation.
Ms. Altough Cordero?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1. Mr. Ferrucci absent.
All right, next item, 5F, authorization to forward the 2024 delinquent tax notice. Staff is requesting council to authorize Township Finance Department to forward the 2024 delinquent real estate tax list to Northampton County for collection. This is an annual approval, and the amount presented is similar to prior years. So I would make the motion to approve turning over the delinquent 2024 real estate taxes to Northampton County tax claim.
I'll second that.
Comment, Jason?
Kathy, how many properties does this represent? How many property owners are delinquent in their taxes?
I'm afraid I don't know that information, but I can get that for you.
Is this number higher or lower than what it was last year and the year before?
It's very similar. It's probably a little higher, but not by much.
Do we have any idea why it's a little bit higher?
No. I mean, most of it could be just a matter of someone not even knowing that they didn't pay an interim bill at some point.
All right, thank you.
Priscilla, do you have any comments or questions?
No, I don't at this time. Thank you.
Victoria?
No.
All right, I don't either. Can we have a roll call?
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Ms. Altough Cordero?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Mr. Ferrucci absent.
All right, 5G is approval of Saucon Valley Community Center 2025 Summer Recreational Program Agreement. Council will consider approval of the agreement for the Saucon Valley Community Center's 2025 Summer Recreation Program, which has been prepared for our review and approval. The program is structured similarly to previous years and maintains the nominal fee of $10 for one child and $5 for each additional child. I will make the motion to approve execution of the 2024 Summer Recreational Program Agreement not to exceed $35,100.
I'll second that, but just as 2025.
Yeah.
You are correct. It does say 2024 though on the paper.
That's right there on the
Yeah.
paper, if you read it
I did read it.
wrong,
It's right here.
yeah, beforehand.
Okay, so I will amend my motion to say the 2025 Summer Recreational Program Agreement
It's,
not to exceed $35,100. Jason, do you have a comment?
So this is for the 2025 Summer Recreation Program, right?
Yes.
As I recall, going back maybe 3 or 4 years ago, Donna Louder had approached council to implore us to provide recreational programs in Steel City, because there were a number of younger children that lived there, and the recreational opportunities were not as great. And there were concerns about the ability of the children that lived in Steel City being able to get over here to Town Hall Park where the summer recreational program was taking place. Is that being replicated again this year? Are there going to be recreational opportunities for the residents in Steel City that Donna had advocated for?
This agreement covers where we had the enrollments for we didn't have many to warrant the Steel City program. If I recall from last year, there were very few children interested.
Okay.
So the community center recommended reaching out to those few and trying to put them in a program or in a park location that was closer to them. But the need of the, or the request of the children enrollment wasn't there at Steel City, but we can try if you want to.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just gonna add additional staff to their budget and to keep the kids there.
Well, look, we're a big township, and, you know, here we are. The sites for these programs will include Town Hall Park and Southeastern Park, right? Not Polk Valley, where they just send the money from Sheets, but the programs are gonna be at Town Hall and Southeastern, but they wanna send the money
And
to a
that
different
kind of
park.
puts it on both sides of the township.
Right, so why not put the money from Sheets, which is on this side of the township, over in this park? I mean, clearly it's being used here by the Saucon Valley Community Center. They think it's a worthwhile park. Sorry, you don't. Yeah, I mean, I think we should, you know, include Steel City in this if we can, if there's an interest. I mean, obviously, if there's no interest from Steel City, then let's not spend time and effort there. But if there is, like, if we're gonna be regional, then let's be regional. Let's be truly regional.
We can reach out to the director and see if there's any more interest out there.
I appreciate it. The other thing I wanted to say is like the $10 thing and the $5 thing, we reimburse
We're-
for library,
we
we
can't
reimburse for the pool.
Have
Why
the
don't we
comment
reimburse
from
for
the
summer
audience
program?
and you're disrupting us
Yeah,
again.
that brings up a good point. I didn't yield my time.
Okay.
I didn't yield my time, so don't worry. I didn't stop, so don't cut me off.
Disrupting.
I'm not what am I disrupting? I'm not
Out of the
disrupting.
audience.
I'm not disrupting, so don't accuse me of disrupting.
Please finish.
So, I just had a great idea. How about if we reimburse the residents for this, for the $10 or the $5 for additional child? I mean, we reimburse for library services, so why don't we include a reimbursement?
We would just change the agreement to waive the fee.
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah, why don't we waive the
Allentown
fee?
feeds them breakfast and lunch.
Yeah, let's waive the fee.
And they
So
got
I would suggest that we amend the motion to waive the fee instead of trying to profit off of these parents that are trying to find summer programs for their children. You're happy to give, what, $1 million to the Allentown Library. So let's give a little bit of money back to our residents that want to participate in the Saucon Valley Community Center's 2025, not 2024, 2025 summer recreation program.
Right here on the paper.
Yeah, but if I said this is a monkey, would you read it's a monkey? No, you just read anything in front of you, like fake.
Okay, Priscilla, do you have comments?
I've always supported the summer program. I think it's great for the residents, youth, for their children. And we should use as many parks as we can. And unfortunately, some of them weren't used and different decisions had to be made. So I'm, in support of motion.
All right, Victoria?
I'm supportive of having the program at any and all parks that we can. So I'm happy, I don't know whether at this point in time, because this is a draft motion that came forward, and I think this was prepared by the township staff in coordinating with the SVCC. Is that how this came forward? In its current form?
Yes.
And they had made the recommendations for the fees?
We made the recommendation for the fees some time ago because there were residents who had multiple children going into multiple programs, and it was, at some point, it was very popular, and they were running out of space. And they had to turn kids away.
So we put a tax on these people to force them not to participate in a program that was subsidized.
Well, we were, if you were going to put in more than one or two children, there would be a problem.
So the people that have the most children are being penalized for having children. Makes sense.
Well, I would
Thank you,
say
Priscilla, because you don't have any children, you know how this works.
the SBCC pays for all the staffing for for the program, is that right?
We gave them ARPA money.
Oh, we reimburse it though, we pay that to them.
Yeah, they charge us
Community
40
centers,
and then
in
we
terms
pay
of
them and
hiring,
give us park program.
all aspects of the programs that's being offered, we just were reimbursed reimburse them as to the bills that they provide us.
Mhm.
So, it was in the amount not to exceed the amount that we budgeted. So previous administrations were concerned that we were just writing a check for a certain amount of money and there might have only been 20 kids or 10 kids enrolled, and we were giving them a flat amount of this is what we contracted with. So we came up with previous managers had come up with this type of solution to accommodate those instances where either one family member was taking up a lot of placements that other residents couldn't take because they were participating in both A and B programming. And it was also a matter of, we didn't want to necessarily just write the community center a check for a contract amount when we don't know how many kids were actually going to participate in the program.
So the fee gives us like an accounting of the head count?
The fee was more so that, the fee was based on the fact that it was costing us more at the time, and that there were certain residents who were putting in their children in both programs, and the community center said that, they had to turn away people.
Right.
So the decision was made at the time by that council that if you were going to enroll more than one child, that a nominal fee to offset the cost of the program
Right.
was appropriate at that time.
Well, I don't think the fee that I've ever heard was so controversial, and it's quite a good bargain. There's no place you're gonna get a 4-week program, 60 hours for $10 or $5, so
Kind of like a free library is a good deal too.
Reimburse for the pool, you reimburse for the library, why not reimburse for the
Okay.
other program?
So
Common sense doesn't matter.
so the motion is to approve the
I make the motion
agreement as
to approve
drafted,
the
right?
agreement as drafted with the not to exceed 35,100 at the two parks, unless, they wanna change the parks, but they need to do a new agreement then, because it's specifically worded for Southeastern. All right, can we have a roll call?
Mr. Benonis,
I'm gonna vote no because I'm not in favor of the summer recreation tax. If it was free, then I would vote yes, but nobody wants to amend their motion, so I'm gonna vote no.
Ms. Cordero?
I'm gonna vote yes, but I will say if you can just approach them and see if they can expand the program, or at least open it up to all the parks and see whether there's interest again.
Thank you.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1. Mr. Croce absent.
All right, 5H is approval to update the planning commission member term expiration date. So previously, I saw, on the planning commission board, they served four-year terms, and somewhere along the line over the years, the staggering of those terms got out of whack. So we were having, of the seats we were having, 3 ended up with term dates 2027, 1 for 2025, 1 for 2026, and 2 for 2028. So to get it more evenly, or as even as you can do it with a 2, and 1 expiration dates, I guess Kathy approached the planning commission, and they made a motion at their meeting to change the term date for Veronica Gress from December 31st, 2027 to December 31st, 2026, and that passed unanimously by that board. So I will make the motion to approve modifying Ms. Gress's term expiration date from December 31st, 2027 to December 31st, 2026.
I'll second
I'll
that.
second that.
I'll yield my second.
All right. Jason, comments?
None?
Priscilla, comments?
None.
Victoria?
None.
Okay. Me as well. Can we have a roll call?
Ms. Cordero? Yes. Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. Delion?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Mr. Croce absent.
All right. Item 5I is to accept resignation of our acting township manager and director of finance. At our last meeting, a motion was made to accept the resignation. The resignation wasn't on our agenda because it was an executive session item just prior to the meeting, so it is now on this agenda. So I will make the motion that with regret, we are accepting
Regret.
Kathy's resignation.
I'll second that, unfortunately.
You should have hired her.
All right, Jason, comments?
Absolutely, I want to comment. You say with regret. That is the most offensive, ignorant thing that has ever come out of your stupid, ignorant mouth. I mean, honestly,
Okay,
you tortured this
comments are
woman
not
for a year.
necessary.
For a damn year, you tortured this woman. She admirably served this township for 18 or 19 years as the finance director, as the assistant manager. And then she steps into a hellhole created by you three fools, right? And she serves as the interim manager for a year. For a year. And repeatedly, you stomp on her and you tell her, we're not gonna make you the manager. And then you say it's with regret that she's leaving? Regret. You are the most ignorant, deplorable person. I thought Priscilla was bad, and I thought Victoria was. You really take the cake with that one. It is utterly despicable for you to say that and for how you treated this woman. You had every opportunity to hire her. She's an excellent person. She is a resource to this township and has been. We can ask her questions in a council meeting like this, and she has an instant command, and that's gone because of the three of you. The three of you have created a situation where she would prefer to move on than to stay here and work for the township where she lives and the folks that she loves working with. That's how bad it is. Nobody wants to work for you. You're lucky that Jay Finnegan has come along. And he didn't even come along as an interim manager. He came along to help Kathy. And this fiery dumpster is dumped into his lap, like everything else you touch. To paraphrase Barack Obama, everything you touch turns to shit, including the township manager role. Every single thing. You can't even vote to have a consultant tell people how you're bullshitting them about how bad the township finances are going to get because of your landfill derangement syndrome. You are utterly, utterly incompetent. I don't understand how people, you complain about how people behave themselves here. I think that they're reserved. I think that they're calm. I think that they are polite. For all of the torment and all of the idiocy and incompetence that you put out there, you swore an oath to this township and you act like a clown car. Every meeting is a clown car because of you, and everything you do is a clown car. And these people are restrained in how they deal with you. I can't believe that there aren't more people that are here that aren't losing their minds over you. And I mean, Kathy, I'm sorry. I am sincerely sorry that you're leaving. I wish you were staying. I wish that they recognize your value. I do. I know the people that work with you in the offices, they do too. I know they're going to miss you. I'm going to miss you.
Is she going to consult?
We've worked together closely for over 5 years. We created the assistant manager position for you, which you deserved, and which you handled well. I'm glad that has helped you to create the opportunity to be able to go and become a township manager elsewhere, I don't blame you for leaving, and I wish you the best. Thank you for all you've done. On behalf of myself, Tom's not here, the residents, I'd like to say thank you for all that you've done. I'm
Too late.
Come back as a consultant, Kathy.
They're gonna offer some puffery, some bullshit, right? But that's what it is, right? It has no meaning or substance behind it because they wouldn't put their vote where their mouth is. If they were willing to put their vote where their mouth is, instead of just placating and pandering and puffing you up, then it would be a totally different, we wouldn't be dealing with this right now. And we gave them the opportunity at the last meeting. We said, we'll only accept this if you make her the full-time manager, and they won't do that. They're stooges. And good for you to rid yourself of Priscilla De Leon, probably the most offensive, deplorable person you will ever meet. She won't be knocking on your door, coming in, meddling, and telling you how to do your damn job. That's worth it in itself. That's worth a pay cut probably, but I hope you're making more money, and I hope you're happier because you deserve to be happy.
Here.
Priscilla, do you want to make comments?
Go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to wish Kathy the best. And I don't ever recall a time when I knocked on her door and told her how to do her job. I knocked on her door and I asked her questions, and I tried to understand different things, but whatever, you can't convince anybody. I just wish you the best, and there are things that I'd like to make public, but unfortunately, I respect the confidentiality of the personnel rules when you talk to an employee about different jobs and they talk to you, and I will not reveal anything like that. So Kathy, I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Again, and you deserve it.
Thank you.
Victoria?
Thanks. I'm sorry to Kathy that, disagreements that council members had with each other or their style or, vision for this township, has been intertwined with your role. Certainly here at public meetings, every time, you've been placed in a difficult position, and I am sorry that occurs. I have enjoyed working with you, for the time that I've been on council, and I got a chance to know you, and I appreciate everything that you've done. You spent a lot of time with me going through the budget, when we did budget season, which was my first opportunity to really dive into that with you. And I think that what you offer to our township has been very valuable for the many years that you've been here. And so I wish you the best in moving forward. And I wish that I was saying goodbye at different circumstances than this, but I will keep my other comments to things I will say privately, and I do agree with Priscilla. I continue to say dragging personnel and our employees into the public meetings is inappropriate. We had a personnel committee or a manager search committee, and that's what it was. But I appreciate Kathy, and I wish you very, very, very good times moving forward.
Thank you. Yes, so I will express my thanks to Kathy as well. I didn't get to work with her very long either, but she is a wealth of information. She does have a lot of knowledge in there of historic township business, so that will be greatly missed. Yeah, I'm sorry that, the way things have gone and the treatment that has occurred publicly. It was not deserved and not necessary, but I wish you well in your new job. I know it'll be great new experience for you.
Looking forward to a new challenge. Thank you. I'll reserve any comments till my final meeting.
Good move.
Because I do have one left. To tolerate me for one more meeting. But I do appreciate your comments, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. All right, can we have a roll call?
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon,
Yes.
Mr. Benonis,
No.
Ms. Altough Cordero.
In honoring your wishes, yes, Kathy.
Motion passes 3-1. Mr. Srvcs.
All right, 6A, approval of the October 16th, 2024 council minutes. I'll make the motion to approve the October 16th, 2024 minutes.
One second.
I don't know if anybody had any corrections. Does anybody have corrections? If not, we'll take a roll call.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon,
Yes.
Mr. Benonis,
No, they're not accurate.
Ms. Altough Cordero.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1. Mr. Srvcs.
All right, council reports, Kathy.
I wanted council to be aware that I did advertise for the director of finance position, since that's under the manager's purview. I felt it in best interest to expedite that as quickly as possible. I also, as Mr. Belen had announced earlier, that we did have Nick Keller resign as of March 28th. We already had open advertisements for an opening prior, so we did hire or offer a position to Samantha Barrow, and I believe that she had accepted the position, so she will be starting shortly. The compost center, if people need compost center cards, please contact our office. Any questions regarding the compost center, the openings, or what you can bring to the compost center, we direct people to Hellertown Borough's website. We have it connected on our website too, and it'll direct you to the correct page for any information on that. Hellertown Historical Society's Easter egg hunt, which council sponsored and donated money to, is having their Easter egg hunt on April 19th at 10 a.m. at Dimmick Park. Movies in the Park, the voting now is available. The Survey Monkey will be up until April 17th for voting. Again, I wanted to remind people that the Bethlehem landfill is providing a spring cleanup on May 17th. We should be getting coupons from landfill administration office. She got them today. So we'll be able to provide coupons to residents who wish to utilize that service from the landfill. And I do have to, the police department room that was complete, council approved it. There is one snafu, I should say, in the remodeling, and that was we had a door that was supposed to be reutilized, and the door that we thought we had damage to it, so we're gonna have to get another door. So it's gonna be more than the $5,000 that council approved. It's another little over $1,000 to replace the door and to put that in. So I wanted to apprise council of that. And that's all I have.
Kathy, do you need do you need some revision to be on a future agenda to approve that additional expense, or did we leave it open-ended?
We didn't leave it open-ended. I wanted to let council know that, and I could put that on the next agenda.
Okay.
Approval.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason?
No report.
Priscilla?
Yes, I'd like to say that on March 25th, I attended the library meeting, and on March 26th, we had a historic committee, and that's all I have.
All right, Victoria?
Just a couple things. First and foremost, I wanted to say thank you to the community for all of their rallying around the Bavaro family, that suffered a loss to their home, recently, due to a fire. I also want to say thank you to Lower Saucon Fire Rescue for, responding. I know that they were responding along with a couple other, fire companies, to assist the family. But unfortunately, it was, as I understand the reports, that it's a total loss. But the community has rallied around the family. There is just, and I want to share this for the community so that you can continue to support them. It's one of the things that makes our community wonderful. Everybody rallies around and pitches in to give what they can and do what they can, to keep lifting each other up. And that's something very special. So I want to make sure that everybody's aware there is a GoFundMe that's set up for the family, to help them, as they are transitioning, while, you know, whatever they're gonna end up doing with their home and all of that. Certainly they lost all their belongings for the most part, as I understand. So there's a collection happening in Hellertown, for toiletries and different goods. You can go on, I'm aware of the Facebook groups that it's been posted various, but if you are on social media, I would suggest that you go on Neighbors Helping Neighbors, Hellertown Lower Saucon Neighbors Helping Neighbors. The family and also those that are promoting the initiatives are posting regularly to give updates with the links to the GoFundMe page, and also there's a meal train, so to help the family also. So I would encourage everybody to move forward with that. In fact, just today, we learned that in the efforts to help the family, they did lose 2 of their pets. And so there were Lehigh Valley Animal Crematory Services and Heinzelman Funeral Home, it appears, donated services for the family to take home their pets, and they posted that today. And that's just another example of what our community does. So I wanted to report that and encourage everybody in the community to do what you can, whether it be donating goods or doing the meal train or donating via GoFundMe. They also are accepting gift cards to restaurants and places so that they can continue to recover. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I was hopeful with the compost center highlights that we've provided to the community. I noticed that we aren't promoting the fact that you can get mulching from the compost center. So I'm hopeful that we can take a look at what we're posting on the website, to highlight the additional composting product that is now available to our residents, that they didn't have if they were just using the yard waste facility in the past. But I know a lot of residents use the compost, and people should know that not only can they drop off their yard waste, but they can also get mulch. So I wanted to make sure that we highlight that. Another thing that came up, brought to my attention, is that our police association is selling badges for Autism Awareness Month, and they include some autism puzzle pieces with the Lower Saucon Police Department on it. So I would encourage residents to support the police association by getting those badges. And also some residents have approached me and trying to see if we could help fund the patches for the entire police department. So that's just like coming together literally just today with some residents. So I wanna just alert the staff that, because obviously this is the 2nd or 3rd day in April, but Autism Awareness Month is a month. But anyway, that's that. That's all I have.
Thank you. I had a couple items as well. The one is regarding an open house that Lower Saucon Fire Rescue is scheduling or have scheduled for a Q&A session on the cost recovery billing. They're going to hold that on Monday, April 14th at 6 o'clock at the Lightsville Social Hall. And that topic is going to be on our next agenda then 2 days later on the 16th. So on the 14th at their town hall, residents will be able to go there and speak directly and get their questions answered about how that program works, and then they don't have to come to council meeting to try to jam in a question, but it'll be a nicer atmosphere to do Q&A. So I encourage everybody to go there. They do have it posted on their Facebook page if you want to click that you're interested in going, so you can have the reminder. A second item, I saw an email about a week ago from PennDOT regarding an upcoming bridge replacement project that they have for Lower Saucon Road. It's going to be the bridge that's down right as you come off Eastern Road going towards King Mill Road. There's a bridge there to be replaced. I don't know that they had dates in there yet. They are supposed to have a 30-day comment period where public can put in their comments and concerns. That was supposed to be available as of April 1st. I do not find this project out there yet as of today, so I don't know. Do you normally contact them, Kathy, or I will call the PennDOT guy because I have. Okay. So that way, because there's supposed to be a link that you can reach them to provide your comment. Like I said, there's a 30-day comment period.
That's scheduled to go on our website.
Okay, yeah, I was going to suggest that as well, if the link could be right on our front page so people can find it, but somehow they didn't get it available yet. So I know how long that other bridge took to get changed out. And this one will have an even worse detour. So I know it causes a lot of havoc for especially the emergency crews, because like there is no around the block up there. And another thing, I don't know, maybe we talk about this at a future meeting, but regarding the meeting minutes and possibly changing the format of how we do them, I would be fine if we had like the basic condensed format that a lot of places use, where you just have the agenda items, description, motions, the votes, maybe some highlight of comment, and then Kathy had said you can also put in, since we have this on YouTube, you could put in the timestamp of where that agenda item is on the YouTube, so that you could just forward through to that timestamp to look it up. It would make it so much easier for all the transcribing and time that goes into putting these hundreds and hundreds of pages of meeting minutes together. That would be my recommendation. So I don't know if we need to make that a formal motion sometime, or if we just make a directive.
That's insane.
Okay, well, we'll put that on for maybe next time if it's not too jam-packed. All right, and now the solicitor.
No report.
No report.
Just one thing, with the open house on the 14th, I'm hopeful, I don't know if we can promote that. We are Township Constant Contact. I know there's different selections for people, but I think there's one that goes out to everybody in our Facebook page and website to promote the meeting. The open house at the fire station, that would be great.
Good idea. All right. Okay, public comment, if you wanna come up to the podium, state your name.
Hello again, Cheyenne Ryman. I think it's a ridiculous request to ask Kathy or whoever's gonna be in charge of doing the minutes to reference the YouTube minutes in them. It would be ideal, but in a practical scenario, we don't even have enough time to get the meeting minutes done. And you want her to go back and watch YouTube and tell you when those are happening? That's outrageous. Or whoever's gonna be doing, who's actually gonna be doing, because we're not gonna have a Kathy. That's an outrageous, absolute outrageous request. I also want to make it known on record that during recess from the meeting that couldn't be controlled, it was in the hallway, and something was brought up about this study for the landfill. Lynn Hill was in the hallway, who I believe worked with Kathy to write the budget or review the budget, should know the budget regardless as the controller. And the comment was made about, we just need to live within our means. And while I absolutely agree with that, at the same time, we've also spent other money that we don't need to spend, which was my comment. The consultants for Heller Homestead wasn't a budgeted item. I don't know if the firehouse consultant was a budgeted item, I don't believe it was, but we spent money on those. So we're spending money, and that's not certainly helping us live within our means. So I said, well, those weren't on the budget, were they? Lynn Hill looked at me and said, I don't know. So at that point I said, well, didn't you write the budget? And she said, I didn't write the budget. So I said, okay, did you help write the budget? Her response to me was, shut the F up, you don't know anything about the budget. These are the people that you're appointing to speak to a resident and say, shut the F up, you don't know anything about the budget. When somebody asks you a simple question, were those on the budget? And I wasn't nasty, all I said was, Lynn, were these two consultants on the budget? And that's okay, that's appropriate. But if anybody else says it, says the F word, says this, that, we're up here, we can't make any kind of comment apparently during the meeting. We get told to be quiet because you took away our voice. You ran on transparency, but took away our voice. That's the reason why people are interjecting comments from the audience. You specifically ran, saying, we want to hear from residents. We need more comment from residents. And when you don't like the comments you're getting, you simply took that away. You're like, what is it, Klaus Schwab, you'll have nothing and you'll like it. It's ridiculous, you can't take that approach. You're up there to represent the township, not yourself and your self-serving interests. And you can't just say, we don't like that. You can't do the same thing when you don't like an agenda item. We just want to take this off. We want to table this indefinitely. It's up there for a reason, because there's 5 members of council, not 3. Whether you like them or not, whether you want to be best friends or not, there's 5 for a reason. It was written that way to make it that you have more input. And listening to the public during comment, during the agenda items, is only going to help you arrive at the best decision for the township. Being able to speak at the beginning of the meeting when you have no idea what the discussion is going to be, you should be ashamed. As you sit up there and you consider different points that people are saying, maybe you have a preconceived something based on what you've read. Maybe somebody in the audience makes a comment that makes you think differently, or makes you spark a different idea. What's so bad about that? Give us our voice back, let us talk, and then you won't have to sit there and ineffectively try to run a meeting, because we would comply and actually participate appropriately. See you looking at the clock, thank you.
Yeah, do we have others?
My name is Mary Ann Garber and I represent the Bethlehem landfill. I want to make 3 points. The first is with respect to agenda items 5H and 5I from the March 19th council meeting. As I had pointed out at that meeting, given the inconsistencies between the agendas, the simple agenda, the detailed agenda, the subject lines, and Ms. Optoff's then explanation of the bases for her request that those items be placed on the agenda, it was utterly confusing to me what motions were actually voted on. So I did submit a right to know request to the township asking for documents that reflected the specific motions that were voted on at the meeting. And so for the public, I wanted to be very clear what the motions were. So with respect to item 5H, the specific motion was Ms. Optoff Cordero moved to appoint John P. Elliott and/or Elliott Greenleaf PC with a maximum hourly rate of $350 for legal representation on an as-needed basis for landfill, environmental, and any other matters that may be necessary as decided by our township solicitor. It's limited to this particular law firm. It has nothing to do with any other consultants, despite the explanation that Ms. Optoff Cordero gave when she talked about this motion. And then more importantly, with respect to agenda item 5I, there was a question as to whether the motion was authorizing individual council members to unilaterally reach out to township consultants, township landfill consultants, and there was really no clarification provided at the meeting when that was requested. So the specific motion that was voted on, Ms. Optoff Cordero moved that we authorize our host municipal inspector and landfill consultant approved by council at the reorganization meeting to attend meetings and respond to matters above the work performed at the host municipal inspector at the host municipal inspector and attendance at landfill committee meetings. So it's limited, number 1, to Hanover Engineering. It's limited to Hanover Engineering Services with respect to host municipal inspection duties, and there is no authorization for any individual council member to request or direct those specific consultants for any information. That's a council majority decision. The second thing that I wanted to speak to was something that Ms. Optal-Cordero said tonight about how a landfill expansion is losing that land for the rest of eternity. As Mr. Bononis pointed out, there are plenty of post-closure uses for closed landfills, including income-generating uses. And I wanted to point out that the amended and restated host agreement provides leasing rights to the township for certain closed areas of the landfill once DEP, if and when DEP approves the Phase 5 expansion. So the township can lease those areas for $10 a year and keep all of the income that's generated from any of the uses that would otherwise be permitted by DEP. The third thing that I wanted to point out was at the last council meeting, Ms. De Leon represented, sort of generically a long time ago, the Department of Environmental Protection shut the landfill down. So I just want to be clear, the city of Bethlehem owned and operated the landfill for decades prior to the adoption of any environmental regulations at the state or federal level for the construction or operation of municipal waste landfills. The landfill was sold by the city of Bethlehem to a private company in 1998. It was Eastern Waste of Bethlehem at the time. The site has changed hands as a result of sales and divestitures and acquisitions over time. But the first time that a private company owned the landfill was in 1998, and it's been under private ownership ever since then. I've personally been representing the landfill since 1999. At no point when the landfill's been under private ownership rather, has the landfill ever been shut down. Once the landfill came under private ownership in 1998, those private companies took a neglected municipal-owned landfill and transformed it into a state-of-the-art double-line landfill that's compliant with all of the various levels of environmental regulations. Any reference to Ms. De Leon to a shutdown, quote-unquote, of the landfill, I think was with regard to a Morning Call article from the early 1990s that was prior to private ownership, and it was because the unlined portion of the landfill, which was operated by the city of Bethlehem and which was not included in the solid waste permit, had reached capacity. So pending the authorization by DEP of the Phase 3 expansion, that's why the landfill couldn't accept any more waste. And that Phase 3 expansion was approved by DEP and by the township. Those are all the comments that I have. Thank you.
If anybody else?
Anne Marie Slavic, Lower Saucon Township. Great information as always, historic references, I love it. I love it, I love that information. Corrected, truth, I love it. Okay, just wanted to reiterate what I was up here before, and I agree with Cheyenne, that it's good for us to have public comment during the times that you're discussing a topic. And not all of us want to be here until 1 o'clock in the morning, contrary to what you believe. We do want to get out of here as well, but we also want to be able to speak intelligently in response to what you all are saying. Because sometimes you all bring topics up aside from the agenda, or ideas or opinions that to us sometimes don't make sense, to us aren't truthful, to us maybe, we know something that maybe you don't know, and that's why we want to speak during the time that you're speaking of the agenda item. So I would request you bringing that back. In reference to the Susquehanna Accounting and Consulting Solutions, the accounting firm that Jason brought up in reference to trying to get them to do a project analysis or revenue analysis, loss analysis in case the Democrats on the council want to close the landfill, and that would be consequence to our financials. What I want to say is, so that everybody understands, is that there are different accountants that do different things. Not all accountants do the same thing. If you're not involved in accounting, you wouldn't know that. And obviously there are 2 people on this council, and probably 3, that don't know that. Auditors don't do everything. Auditors do auditing. They can only do certain things, they can only do certain calculations, and they only know certain things. Corporate accounting is different than municipal accounting. And auditing is different than taxes, and auditing is different than financial analysis and looking forward in revenue expectations and projections. So that company is a third party that would be doing that consulting work, and they've done work for York County, Fairview Township, Airport Authority, Dauphin County, Beaver County, and several SOAR authorities. They do municipal and bureaucracy type accounting. They do estimates of profit and loss, projected income and losses, financial analysis, asset valuation accounting, and accounting for public entities and businesses. They just do different types of accounting. You can't have the auditor doing something that they can't do. What you're looking for is a projected revenue stream or loss in reference to an asset. And that is something that the auditors probably can't handle. Maybe the auditors can tell you who to go to. They might be able to guide you to another accounting firm that might be able to do that. And that's what I would suggest you do, if you don't want this Susquehanna County. But to just really quick, just make a comment in reference to us yelling in the back of the room. Again, I would like to request, I appreciate the request by the solicitor. I would like to request that we stop getting into lawsuits. That's my request. Thank you.
Two more comments?
It's 3 in the morning. Oh, all right, I guess the thing that really strikes me is what Mr. Gaduzian threatened everybody in this audience with, and that is some kind of legal suit if we didn't stop talking. And boy, that really puts it right on the head. First off, what we're seeing here is we've had our right to talk taken away from us by these 3 people up here, these 3 Democrats, typical. Once they get into power, they can't turn it off, and they just keep shutting people down in one way or the other. It was 5 minutes for each and every topic. And then it was, oh, we can't have that, that takes too much time. And then it was 3 minutes. And then it was virtually no minutes. And now I hear Laura Ray up there as the chief. Actually, I had some words for that. Yeah, she's a dictator. And she's got 2 right-armed people that help do that. We have a bloviator over here who does nothing but talk over everybody, including the landfill lawyer, who probably has more brains than whatever. Certainly than the person that's bloviator. On top of that, what else? I want to say I have never, now I've only been to every council meeting except 2 for the last 5 years, and I have never, ever heard anybody say something bad about Kathy. Whether it was in this chamber, whether it was out in the hall, whether it was out in a ballpark, wherever it was, and that's the God's truth. So if she's unhappy, Laura Ray, she's not like you that sends people to other council people's house and says, you get out there, my friends, and protest this guy. No, the bottom line is she is a rock solid person, and the reason she's leaving is not because of what these people in the audience say, it's because of her, meaning Victoria. It's that person on the phone, and it's Laura Ray. All you have to do is look at the end of your nose, and you know why she's leaving. And the same goes for Mark Hudson. He saw it after the first 2, wasn't even 2 weeks. He knew immediately as soon as Treadwell goes. Now, as soon as Treadwell left. All right, so here we go. What are we seeing? We're seeing dictatorship. We're shutting down the public. We don't want them to know, and we certainly don't want to know about the financials when you're trying to pull the plug. I'm going to be at that court session every day. The final thing I will say in the last 12 seconds, because I'm not getting the red card from Ms. Fonelek there today, the bottom line is that you got to change your way. I'll tell you, I know a lot of people that are real happy to Support the people that tell the truth and the ones that lie about how the river, Lehigh River gets polluted. No, it's not the landfill, Virginia. Ha! It's your buddies down there and over in Allentown who are the Democrats who are running their sewage system into the river. Yeah, raw pollutant, boy, that's just lovely. And by the way, Mr. Gaduzian, when you say some words, I'd like to hear some useful information, not threats. That doesn't go well for anybody.
Do we have anybody else for public comment?
Mark? No.
I'm thinking. Stick around, I'm thinking.
Donna Louder, I stand before you asking this council why they won't do the projective study. Victoria, can you tell me why? I know I talked to you on the side a little bit and you said it was because of the other person doing the, looking at the financial stuff. Can you tell me why you really won't add this to that study as well?
Sure.
This
To
is,
be clear, it's not question and answer, it's public comment, so feel free to go ahead.
Now, running the meeting, Steve, Laura is, I need to be reminded, she was a councilwoman, she understands how this works.
Stop paying your taxes.
Laura, I'm gonna ask you the same
And
reason.
that
I'm not
is
asking you
the
to answer me,
Q&A.
I'm
We
asking,
can talk offline sometime, but
there is absolutely, this is so detrimental to the township, the financial history and the financial future of this township. This should, this should have been done years ago, and thank you for bringing this up. This should have been done years ago. If we need to start looking for more business in this township, like, you know, the one on Easton Road that kind of went to the wayside because of the threat of changing the zoning, that was a stupid move. This is so detrimental. We need to know exactly what role this landfill financial stuff plays for our future financial aspects. Is anybody gonna tell us what is it a big secret about? Why is this secretive? Why is this secretive? Laura Ray, why is it a big secret? I know Priscilla's not very good with money. I talked to her ex-husband and she screwed up his taxes and he had to pay in $150,000 to the IRS. I mean, come on. Does anybody, can anybody please, you campaigned, you got elected. I really would like to have the respect as a taxpayer from an elected official here. Can somebody please answer me and tell me?
well, this is not Q&A. You were an elected official.
And I answered every single person that ever came before me, to the point where I got pamphlets from an engineer and gave it to the person so they would understand what my answer was for. That's how I did business. I never lied, and I never did anything that was not transparent. This saddens me. This truly saddens me because all you are doing is stumping the growth of the township.
Good job.
Thank you.
More comments?
I don't want to do this. Everything in the township needs to change. More problems here than Bononis and Karochi. The first thing I'll bring up,
Sorry, good job.
see now when Bononis was president, he'd be having people thrown out of here.
I never threw a single person out, sir.
Huh?
I never threw a single person that went around these meetings. Ask the officers. Not a single person.
You forget. I got all the videos since December of '22. Don't forget that. My next statement is, if Donna Louder is so concerned about this dump, why, when she was on council, didn't she do it? Why'd she try to sell Steel City to the dump?
You own Steel City? Why are you attacking another citizen? Get control of the
I'm
meeting.
not attacking anybody.
He's attacking a person that's
Okay.
running for the same
Yeah.
office that he's
Yeah.
doing a speech for.
Okay.
All right, so get control of this. He's a candidate, she's a
Okay.
candidate. He's using that mic to attack a candidate and not talk about township
Alright.
business.
That's a legal definition of an attack.
He's using her name for no reason. His comments are supposed to be directed to council, follow your rules, don't go after somebody in the audience, sir. If she's not gonna run the meeting, I'm gonna tell you how to do it, okay?
Oh,
Yes,
Direct
you
your
sit
attention to us.
and curse out people all the time in the audience,
yeah, you should talk.
don't show a good example.
Me? I curse out people in the audience? Who do I curse
Yes,
out? Who?
you do.
Who? Tell me who. Who do I curse out in the audience?
Probably
You're another
people.
ignorant comment from you. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Do you have that letter to
Anyway, girls,
I think we should just let him continue.
you did
It would
run,
take me all night to say all the insults.
you did run on the platform you ran on. The platform did change, not once, twice. Restricted my voice, restricted every voice. Even those of your relatives, if they would've came in here. That's a no-no. And, you know, like Mr. Bonona says he doesn't lie, or Donna Louder says she doesn't lie, there's a police report that begs differently.
Again, why is he going after a person in the audience? Would you get control of the meeting so this man doesn't disparage? Comments are supposed to be directed towards council, not towards people in the audience.
Stop.
I realize he may be your preferred candidate as a Republican as opposed to Donna Louder, but don't use this for a political prop, all right? Get control of the meeting, get control of this guy, and stop disparaging somebody that has nothing to do with this.
Okay, you're gonna.
I think that all the comments from
I don't
anybody
do
who's running for
Republican
council
or
can
Democrat.
arguably
I
be
do
considered a
independent,
political
actually.
platform. It's his right to talk about what he wants to talk about.
About township business, non-agenda items.
Yeah.
Talking about a
It's
council
township
member,
business.
talking about another person who's running for council, whatever, whatever.
It's the comments about the
It's the
dump.
quiet
But then on
equally
the other hand, let's get away from that. Because I got some crazy, stupid answer about writing a right to know request in to yeah, brain dead. About the time I was talking to you on the phone and if the phone calls are recorded. Because I wanted to know if the phone call conversation was recorded, because there was a whole list of people that the, not the district attorney, but my parole agent has on file about, from the township, and trying to restrict my communication with the township employees or council, that I'm not allowed to talk to you when I called. I'd like to know how that got out in public and how many other people knew about it that called. Because that was a strict conversation between me and you. And like I keep telling you, all this time for months, tell the public the truth, or tell them the truth, unless you lied to me in what you told me about. If you want something in life, then you go get it. I've been sitting on it and not doing it, but I should. There's no reason that you should ever have to leave your seat crying through a door from any of them. That one, that one, that one, or that one, or the idiot that left. Take your foot and stick it. I won't say the rest. But a lot of people like you because you've been here for so long. I'm still pissed off at you maybe. But the point is, they think you're good at your job. If you want your old job, then you do your old job. Walk away from the manager. If you want the manager's job, put an application in for it. Like anybody's supposed to do. And here we go, 9:50. Number 2 is leaving, just for the record.
Your time's up, sir, it's been over.
You gotta wrap up.
That's good, I'm glad my time's up.
Do we have anybody else? All right, seeing none, I will adjourn the meeting. The time is 9:49.
You should go watch my car, so that they don't put a bomb underneath it.
I don't think it's as good as.
No.
She already has the money raised for all the badges. So, I was helping too, but I didn't get a chance because she hasn't read their calendar. But yeah, we wanna make sure it happens, tonight, we need to do it.
Yeah.